All right, and welcome everybody to Games Over Plastic. This is episode number 4. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is episode number 4. I am Midnight as always. I am joined by one of my co-hosts this week, as well as a special guest, which you may recognize from episode 3 last week. Unfortunately, Sean was not able to join us for this episode. He had something very important come up, much more important than the podcast. So we're joined by Lockmort. Let's go ahead and introduce you first. Our special guest, he decided to fill in, and we are grateful for that. He was with us for episode 3, and we had a lot of fun talking about our favorite games last week. And we're happy to have you back. How you doing, Lock?
Well, thank you for having me back. It's a spur of the moment thing, but it's pretty cool to be back here so soon. I wasn't expecting that, so thank you. I guess, yeah.
You're welcome, and thank you. We really appreciate it. Honestly, I had a diabolical thought. Like, what if I just keep inviting you every episode and say, like, we just need you as a guest, just every single time, and then before you know it, you're just a permanent member of the show, and that you just can't get away.
Well, that would be smart, but you just told me you were going to do that, so that's not going to work anymore. But that would have been smart, yeah.
Damn it! All right. And then, of course, we have I was going to say the man, the myth, the legend, but that would be Sean. We have the graphics guru, the indie and live service gaming maestro, Hodge. As always, how you doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm happy that it's a shame Sean couldn't join us, but I'm happy we were able to get Locke on here again and get this out. We're recording a little early because me and Sean are actually going to be in New York for the Last Stand Media Sacred Symbols 300 episode, because I'm sure a lot of people listening are also fans of that, and obviously Locke works with them as well. Actually, I've never disclosed the fact that I also do work for LSM. Yeah. But so yeah, it's we're gonna be going there, seeing everyone again. I can't wait for that. But yeah, we're getting this out of the way. Not out of the way because I want to do this. It's not like it's a thing that I have to do. But yeah, I get to do the episode a little early and talk about some games, and it's gonna be fun.
That's what's up. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. On this episode, what we have planned, the main topic that we're going to get to is we're going to be discussing our console ownership history. We're going to be going back into our past, talking about what we had first, second, third, the generations, what we loved about it. Just nostalgia, just a casual, it's not like super structured, like list based, just a fun nostalgia fueled conversation about consoles. So that's what we're going to have going on. So Games Over Plastic, let me get into the administrative stuff. As you guys know, this is the podcast for the agnostic gamers. If you're watching the video, you can see I got the t-shirt here. Yes, sir. Finally got mine so I can wear it. Hodge broke his out last episode. The podcast is going to go up every other week on Mondays. Goes live on YouTube with video, with cams and everything at youtube.com/midnightdt, or just search for Games Over Plastic, like I always say. We are also available on audio podcast services everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the other ones. I always forget them, like Opencast, Pocket Cast, like there's everything. Whatever cast, we got
whatever you use, it's there. Yeah.
You can find us. Exactly.
Yeah.
I always say this, although we've yet to do it. But if you have anything that you want us to cover, leave a comment on the YouTube. If you have any questions or topics, we may use it. We may read your comment on there. We haven't done it yet. Probably won't in this episode, but trust me, it may happen one time. So leave those comments, likes, comments, and everything we will appreciate for sure. As we are a new fledgling podcast out there in a sea of millions of podcasts, anything you can do to support us is greatly appreciated, including leaving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can do that. It doesn't cost anything, and we would appreciate it.
I'll even take a 4. Come on, just do it.
No. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. 5 stars only, please. We don't want to tank our rating. I'm just kidding. We would take a 4, but anyway. Yeah. So now that we've got all that administrative jazz out of the way, let's get into a little bit of fun topics. I like to always begin with the non-gaming fun stuff. Locke, you're our guest. Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about this first, so I'm just going to put you on the hot seat. What's been going on in Lockmort's world that's non-gaming? You watching any shows or movies or anything cool lately?
Yeah, I just started watching The Gentleman on Netflix the other week, the Guy Ritchie show, which is awesome. I love it. I'm like 3 episodes in, I think. I was just gonna watch the 4th one. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really fun. Have you seen a movie, The Gentleman? Same
Mm.
movie? Oh, that's good because it has nothing to do with the movie. it's, it's the same title though, but that's the only and Guy Ritchie is attached to it, but that's the only thing. So that's awesome. And other than that, I've been working.
Yeah,
A lot of
you've been
work.
working a lot. Yeah,
A lot
you've
of
been
work.
working a lot. You were actually, you told me you had just recorded another podcast before you hopped on with us. So busy day for you, huh?
Yes. That's why I still have my setup up. That's why when you asked me, I said, "Oh yeah, sure." Because otherwise, I might have said no. Because it always takes me like half an hour to set everything up. Because I'm trying to move my office downstairs to have like a better background instead of the void that people call it now. Uh, so I'm trying to set everything up, but so far I have to carry everything upstairs, put it all up, put these stupid streamer lights up that I hardly ever use. So yeah, it'll be good when my office is downstairs finally.
Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of relate to the background because I had before we started doing the show with cameras, my background was completely blank. The Starfield poster and then that little thing that says like
Oh,
coffee. It says coffee because murder is a crime or something right there.
oh.
I bought those just so I could have something in the background. Like I need something. It can't just be white plain walls. You know what I mean?
But why did you put up a Starfield poster? I mean, I could have
You know, it's a
gotten
funny.
anything.
It's a funny story. Actually, I like Starfield. All right. But I
Okay.
was going to get a Skyrim poster. Like I had a Skyrim
Mm,
poster, but the Skyrim poster was like a 3-week shipment. And I was like, I can get the Starfield
mm.
right now. So
Okay, yeah,
I got the
that
Starfield.
makes sense.
My background is couple little guitars, little Funkos. I got Poir back there from Dragon Ball Z because
Mm.
in honor of Akira Toriyama, and then the Heartless with the Kingdom Hearts thing because that's for Sean mostly, but I also love those. And then I got a Boba Fett helmet right there. But this is actually just a guest room at my parents' house because I just moved back for a little bit. But at my old apartment, I had this decked out background that I never ended up using because I was going to do videos, but I never had time. So I had this awesome background that I never used it. Now we're doing this. I'm like, oh, let me just throw some shit on
Yeah,
the mantle right there.
yeah, that's
And
so
I'll be.
funny.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead,
go
Lon.
ahead. No, go
No,
ahead. I was just gonna say that it's so funny to always see. I don't know why they do it, but all these streamers have like these really decked out backgrounds that you don't really see, but they have to live in that too. So I always
mhm.
ask myself, what do you do at night when you're not streaming? Are you just sitting in your LED lit little wall, little background wall? What do you do?
Yes, that's what they're doing.
Well,
Oh, but going back to what we are saying, I didn't know that there was a gentleman's show. I knew there was a
yeah.
movie, but I didn't know there was a show. So I'll have to check that out. I still have. You said it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I got it another way, but it's also on Netflix. Yeah, I think that's where yeah. That's where
I
it
I
got it.
do currently have
originated.
Netflix, so maybe I could check it out then.
Nice,
But
but it's really good. The quality is like really high. I was surprised by it because normally Netflix shows are always a little, but this one is
yeah,
really good. I mean, at least so far. I'm only 3 episodes in, but so far it's really good. It's really like the same quality as the movie.
nice.
Okay, so I've never even heard of this. What's it about?
Well, just to say what it's about is kind of spoiling it. Let's just say it's like
Okay.
about the UK or the London underworld.
Oh.
It's like criminals. Yeah, I don't really want to spoil the first episode because I didn't know what it was about. I thought it was just a movie, but in TV show form. And because I didn't know what it was about, like the first episode hit harder. So maybe it's more fun if you don't know what it's about.
You just have to
Okay.
know that it's the Guy Ritchie tone because Guy
Yeah,
Ritchie definitely has a tone to his movies. But
yeah.
yeah, because I
Okay.
love Guy Ritchie stuff, so I gotta check it out.
Oh yeah, you'll love it then. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
clear from the first second that it's one of his projects. Yeah.
nice.
Okay.
Very
Well,
nice.
fair enough. I'll put that on the list. I'm still doing my Apple TV binge, like I talked about. So I
Mm,
got to do that first because I'm in the 3-month trial. You know what I mean? I'm trying to take
yeah.
advantage of that. That way I don't have to pay any money. That's the
His new
plan.
movie looks so good. That Ungentlemanly Warfare or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That movie looks awesome. I cannot
It's
wait to see
amazing,
that
yeah.
movie. But yeah.
Speaking of movies, I did watch a movie just the other day. I watched Wonka with
Mm,
Timothée Chalamet. He was in that. It was a pretty good movie. I give it like a 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. It wasn't amazing. It's kind of like almost like a kid style movie. It's got like a bunch of musical, like little singing parts in it, which you got to be in the mood for that. But I didn't mind it. Overall, it had a good plot and it was enjoyable. Have either of you seen that?
Yeah, I loved it. Or loved it. I
I've
thought
not.
it was cool.
Yeah, it's no Dune 2, of course, but
No.
it was pretty good.
Did you guys?
I've only seen the original and that Johnny Depp creepy one, but I haven't seen this one.
The creepy one.
I didn't watch the creepy one because it looked creepy, so I skipped it.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Locke?
Did you guys see that new Furiosa trailer?
Oh,
I
you
have.
said that. You said that to me. It looked awesome.
That looked amazing. Holy shit. Yeah, I can't wait for that one. That looks like the best, or at least to me anyway. That looks like one of the best movies ever. I can't wait for that one.
I
It
hope
does.
it
It
has
looks
as
good.
much practical effects as the original that Fury Road did,
Yeah.
because that movie was so cool looking that I hope
Yeah.
it's like, I hope they don't Star Wars prequel it where it's like everything's a
No.
green screen. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
go out
yeah,
in the
yeah,
desert and
exactly.
shoot shit.
Yeah, what a genius move to cast Chris Hemsworth as like the bad guy with the fake
Mhm.
nose. He looks so. Yeah, why?
I didn't know it was him
Just-
until they said his name in the trailer. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, that makes sense.
yeah, it's so cool. I can't wait.
It looks
Yeah, that
really good.
looks
I'll
cool.
probably check that out. Hodge, it says here you're watching Dragon Ball. You want to talk about that?
Don't have to talk about it too much. I just, since he's passed away, I went, because I started it actually. I was doing a rewatch like a year ago, but then I went to school to switch careers, and so I just didn't have time anymore. So when he passed away, I just kind of picked up where I left off. So I've just been watching DBZ, and it's just it's just a shot of nostalgia, and I love watching it. I listen. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you got to do the OG or watch Kai." I'm like, I watched the original show with the Bruce Falconer score, which is like the hard rock kind of music, and it sounds so much better than the Japanese music. But yeah, I've always loved DBZ. It's always been one of my favorites. So I've just been watching that kind of while I play one of the games that we're going to talk about on my list later. But yeah,
Nice.
Right on. Yeah, I know Locke definitely is a big Dragon Ball fan.
Mhm.
Locke, have you watched any anime at all? Like that you actually like finished?
Well, I did watch season 1 of Attack on Titan for Dustin, which I thought
It was good.
Yeah, I thought it was. It wasn't bad. Yeah, it was no, it was kind of good. It was kind of good.
That's a good
Um,
anime, especially early on.
And I think that's it. I think there's no. Well, I've seen like a couple of movies, like the Studio Ghibli movies I've seen, and like there's this really fucked up Akira, of course, but the color purple, or no, not the color purple.
Perfect
that's
Blue.
not- Perfect Blue. That's the one. Wow. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was thinking about. A friend of mine once made me watch that one. And I was like, what? Why? But yeah, those are the only ones.
Okay, fair
That's
enough.
funny.
Yeah, for Dragon Ball, I watched Kai. I watched Dragon Ball Kai, and I watched Dragon Ball Super up until the end of the World Tournament arc. I think there was more episodes after that. I think, but I haven't seen them.
They didn't make it into an
Um,
anime, but there's more manga after that. But they didn't keep
okay.
making the show after that part.
Yeah, so that's all I've seen. I didn't watch the original Z. I didn't watch the original Dragon Ball. I didn't watch GT. But Kai is basically Z. It's just remade with less filler. And it was really good. I thought I enjoyed it. All right.
Yeah, the only reason I couldn't get into it, we'll move on after this. The only reason I couldn't get into it is because they changed the voice actors, and just the nostalgia bit of me is like, I want what I listened to as a child. So that's the only reason I didn't watch it. But I know that's technically the better one because they get rid of the filler. But yeah, I just have so much nostalgia for the original that's what I watch.
Is there something new? Didn't they post a trailer or something today for like the card game, maybe, or is it something else?
It's that like Sparking Zero game. I think it's a fighting game. I didn't watch the trailer,
yeah.
but yeah, I think it's a new fighting game coming out. But I could.
That's
be
the
wrong.
new Budokai Tenkaichi game, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maddie's
I've never
gonna
played
play that.
any of those games, but I know Maddie and Chris and everyone loves that stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what's been going on with us, non-gaming related. Let's go ahead and hop into video games, shall we, folks? Let's go ahead and start with you, Hodge. I see you have quite a few games here. What have you been playing lately?
All right, I'll talk about the one we've all played last, but I've also I've been playing Helldivers still so much fun. I'm level 43 3 now or something. So I know I
Yep.
just found out it caps at 50. I didn't realize that, but been going through that. They came out with a new battle pass or like a war bond system or whatever that has all this arc stuff, so you can use the electric stuff without killing yourself. And so we've been using that, just electrocuting the shit out of all the bugs, and it's so much fun. And then I've also been playing Fortnite since that dropped a new season, and so I hop in with friends every once in a while. It's fun just getting dubs, but because Helldivers is fun because it's a little less stressful. I mean, you have to kill all the bugs, but you're not fighting actual real sweaty nerds. You're just fighting computer bugs. So Helldivers is the more relaxing of the two. So I don't need to talk more about that, but after our episode last week, I'm a man of my word. I started playing Skyrim. I sent you the video of I started on Xbox or Game Pass, and it glitched out so badly that I couldn't move, and so I had to restart it, and it glitched out again, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So I erased it from my Xbox, and I downloaded on my Ally. So I've been playing it handheld on my Ally, but I can also plug it into I bought the thing to plug it into my TV so I can play it there also. But on PC, it's running flawlessly, so I've been playing it there, and I have been enjoying it. I'm just stupid. So when something doesn't tell you exactly where to go, I'm kind of like just dumb. So, but I mean, they do have the main quest icon, so I've been doing that obviously. But yeah, it's a really cool open world, and that is when we're talking about Starfield, it's like this is just one world that you can travel through. You're not having to do load screen to load screen to load screen. Like, all right, we have to load screen to this planet, so you can load screen to the planet further away. Like, it's just a nice, cool open world. And I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm be putting my time into it for sure. And so, yeah, I guess everyone is right that Skyrim's a pretty good game, but I'm only like 2 hours in. So I have a lot to learn still, but I've been enjoying it so far.
I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Skyrim. He's going to be hooked. It does tell you. It's been a while since I played Skyrim, but it absolutely does tell you where to go.
Well, yeah,
it? Like when
it
you
does
select the quest.
on the compass. It does on the compass. Yeah, it shows
and
where
on
you
the
go.
map too. If you open the map,
yeah,
right?
I know. I'm just saying, like I've just become such a ooga booga where I just need like the Ubisoft map where it just shows where every little thing is. So now it's back to like you actually have to explore, and so I'm like, oh yeah, I got to actually think for myself again. So I got to get used to that. But
you'll be glad that they make you do that because you're going to get lost. Sure. You're going to get lost in that world, and you're going to have all these squirrel moments like, oh, what's that over there?
Well, yeah, that's what I love about games. Like that's what I loved about Breath of the Wild when I played it. It's like there's so much. Like you can like, oh, I'm gonna climb this mountain. Maybe there'll be something, and there's a temple up there. It's like, oh, so they thought about that. Like you climb wherever, and there's something there, and that's so cool. And so obviously, once I get further into Skyrim, then I saw the map was a lot bigger than I thought it was gonna be, and so just there's gonna be a lot of cool little secrets I find and stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to exploring the land of Skyrim a little more. Yeah. But then, yeah, the last game I played is Rebirth. I actually beat it 72 hours, I think, and I beat it. I'm not going to go for the platinum because I saw one of them was beat it on hard, and I'm like, no, I don't do difficulty trophies. I might have talked about it on here, but I've talked about it in person with people. I don't like doing difficulty trophies. I have no time to play games. I don't need to just suffer on a boss for 7 hours. So I'm happy with what I did. It was a great game. Happy I played it. Can't wait to do a spoiler cast for it. But yeah, I'm done with it, and I loved it.
Nice.
So, yeah,
well, do you like the ending? What do you think? I haven't finished. Don't spoil it. I haven't finished it yet. But do you like the ending?
Well, when Sora, Donald, and Goofy came in to help Cloud fight, it was really cool. I like it because this one, it like obviously the first one for people who've played it, it kind of really twists what happens, but this one kind of kept to the game in some ways, but they expand on so much that it was really cool. I loved it, and I'm so excited for the last one. But yeah, it's definitely cool.
Okay. I wanted to go back for a second to Skyrim because I had a question or two about that, if we could, before we jump into Rebirth, because we're all playing Rebirth. What kind of build are you doing for Skyrim? Like, what are you rocking weapon wise, spell wise? What are you doing?
I haven't gotten any spells yet, but I am just rocking a 2-handed battle axe right now. I'm a Nord. I have a ginger mohawk and paint all the shit on my face and a big, a beard, but a big goatee, like a Khal Drogo goatee. So nice. I'm I'm doing that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just got murdered in a cave because a bunch of those what are they called? The skeleton people. They all started attacking
Draugrs.
me. Yeah, the
Draugrs.
Draugrs. So I just got swarmed by those and got murdered. So I have to replay that cave. But but it's a whole it's really cool. And I do love how, because actually on my first play, I went with the guard, like when you're escaping from the village.
Yeah.
And the second play, I was like, screw it, I'm gonna go with the other guy who I met on the cart. So I went with him the second time. And it's cool because it just makes like that little change of when you go to the shop, you don't talk to the dude at the blacksmith, you talk to this lady that's like across the river. It's the same dialogue pretty much, so it's it's not that expansive, but it is cool that it's like just those little changes of these choices you make. And so that was it's cool. But I got to learn the magic stuff still, but right now I'm just a dude with a looks like the Rise Son of Rome armor with a battle axe slot, like hacking through people.
Oh yeah, dude, what's great about that game too is like you level up the abilities by using them. So as you're beating up people with your two-handed axe, your skill with the axe will improve, and you'll start like doing more damage and stuff. It's pretty cool. I like how it's like intuitive, and
It'll
it's
be
very flexible.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see where you end up, because most people who played for the first time always end up like me too, like a sneaky archer. That's where everybody ends up the first time they play it. So it'll be cool to see where you end up.
I didn't
we'll
do
definitely.
That.
Huh?
You did it?
No, my first build, I almost always do like, if I can, I always do like a spell blade. So I had like a one-handed sword, and I was shooting fire and magic and stuff with the other hand. That's how I like to roll.
Nice,
cool.
Nice,
it's good stuff.
Yeah,
and that's probably what I'm gonna do in Avowed, which is gonna be amazing as well. Completely random shout out to Avowed. Block, do you have any other Skyrim thoughts before we get back to Rebirth? I kind of brought it back, but
well, I'm just very interested to see where it'll go. Do you think you're gonna stick with it, or are you just gonna try it for a couple of hours and then we'll see? Or is the plan like to really finish it? Or
I'll at the very least I'll push my way through the main story, and not push myself. I'm gonna want to play it, but I'll do the main story and then probably what side is I'm not gonna be like 100% completionist with it. Just
no.
I don't plan on doing that because I know that's gonna be 300 hours or whatever. But
But
I'm gonna push. I've enjoyed what I've played so far, so I'll be finishing the story at the very least.
That's so. I don't know anyone who started playing Skyrim now, so you're one of the very few people who can give us like a new perspective, which is very cool.
I'm like I've said that I said this last time, but it takes a lot for a fantasy game to grab me, which this one has. Yeah. But I've always loved the Fallout world, which is why I was excited for the show until that clip where it kind of diminished it a little bit. But so the Fallout world I've always loved, even though I haven't actually beaten either 3 or 4. I just played them for a long time and fell off for various reasons. But so the Fallouts have been awesome. So it's kind of cool to get into the other side, because the Elder Scrolls side was the side that I had only dabbled in a little bit outside of Skyrim. The better side. Yeah, so I'm excited to get into Skyrim. Maybe one day I'll go over to finish Oblivion at some point. But right now, the Skyrim has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you will, because you're gonna love Skyrim so much that eventually, like, it might take a while because we're busy, right? But eventually, it's gonna be some random day in May of 2025, and you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna fire up Oblivion.
Exactly.
Well, today, when we're recording this, right now, today is I think the 20th anniversary of Oblivion. There was something on Twitter. I saw something on, maybe not the 20th, maybe something.
I think it's the 18th, because I think I saw your reply where you're just begging for a remaster.
They still haven't done it, but you're right. The 18th.
Yeah. That's funny.
All right. So that's Skyrim. That's awesome. I'm so glad you're playing that, and we have Locke to thank because he challenged you. He was like, "You're going to play this, and I'm going to do this." So, good stuff. Greatness will always win out in the end. You just have to experience it. Let's go ahead and bring it back. Well, actually, real quick, another squirrel here, because you mentioned the trailer for the Fallout wasn't doing what. This was a bad week for trailers, wasn't it? Because we had that Fallout trailer, which was kind of mid. It was okay.
I liked it. I kind of loved it.
The trailer was good. The clip they released, I did.
The clip is what I meant. Did you see the clip, Locke?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people say like, oh, "This is stupid," but I don't really get it. I thought it was just as great as the trailer. Maybe What is it like the voice of like the Brotherhood of Steel guy? Was that the thing that
Well,
annoyed you? Or?
The Brotherhood guy sounding like fucking Zurg or whatever from Toy
Yeah,
Story
he
was
did.
weird. But
Yeah.
no, it was the lady. She just seemed so bored. But with the joke of being
Mm.
like, oh, the damn vault dwellers, I was like, okay, maybe this is like the character of her, like that she's just so naive to what the world is. I'm guessing that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. The delivery was just off for me. But I'm
Okay.
still excited for the show. But I think it's probably because I'm not as huge into the Fallout lore as a lot of people, that they're like, because a lot of people are joking like they haven't boosted her charisma points yet or whatever. Like that's the excuse and stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'm still excited. It's just that clip when I watched it, I was just like,
Yeah, it was definitely a weird clip to release. I think they made a weird choice there. That was a weird clip, definitely.
I think they just wanted to show the suit and Walton Goggins'
Well,
character. I think that's why
well,
they did it.
those are the three main characters, because the Brotherhood of Steel guy is the other main character. So you have her, you have
okay.
Walt, and then you have that guy. So I guess they wanted to bring all three together, and this is their first scene all together. So maybe in that way it makes sense. But yeah, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, I didn't mind it either. I did feel the same way at first, like when she was talking. At first I was like, oh man, this is a little bit cringe. But after a little bit I got used to her. And also it does kind of make sense, because she's like, we're assuming she literally just emerged for the first time from the vault. So her only interaction with other people was like in this very like indoctrinated school like type setting. Like she doesn't have any real life experience, you know what I mean? So it kind of makes sense that she'd be a bit awkward maybe at first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. But what I was kind of leaning into there is that there was a really bad trailer that released, in my opinion, for the Star Wars, the Acolyte. Did you guys see that? I thought it looked like shit.
That was just that trailer literally made me laugh when the Killmonger haircut showed up. Like, no, how can you do this again? Even especially after South Park made fun of it. Like they didn't make fun of the haircut, but they made fun of the put a chicken and make her lame and gay, and that's exactly what they did again. So it's that trailer looked exactly what is wrong with Star Wars these days. So.
Yeah, I was watching or I saw this thing, someone tweeted out like a press release about the show, and it's like it's gonna have the same tone as Andor. I'm like, that's their go-to thing of it's like Andor, because Andor was the one that everyone liked, so they have to say that everything is like Andor, because otherwise no one will give a shit. And I said literally they released that poster with like the blood stain being like the lightsaber. I was like, that's actually a sweet poster. And I said to everyone, I'm like, that's gonna be the best thing about the show.
Yeah.
Is that poster.
Yeah.
It looks bad.
But are you gonna watch it?
No.
I probably will. But not at launch, because I'm busy.
No, well, there's a podcast I listen to called EFAP. It's Every Frame of Pause. If anyone's listened to it, it's a really funny. Then it's these guys on Discord basically, and they're watching the episode, commentating during it, and that's how I actually watched Ahsoka, because I had no desire to watch it, so I wanted to watch four dudes make fun of it, and that's how I watched it, and that show was horrendous. But so that if they do the same for Acolyte, that's how I'm going to watch the show.
So did you actually watch it or just listen to commentary about it?
It's like a video thing where it's all four of them. They're like where I'm looking, like there's little things at the bottom of their screen that's like their little icons, and then the video plays right here. And so that's like cool. You watch the video while they have their like little icons at the bottom watching it, and that's how they do it. And it's a really good podcast. I like how they do their stuff, but yeah, they just make fun of all this stuff. And that's actually how I finished Obi-Wan, because I gave up on that show also because that show was horrendous. So I finished it through their podcast by watching them watch it. But
how do they get past the is it on YouTube? Because how did they get past the copyright?
Yeah,
they cut up the episode so it's not the full, like they do show clips, but they also over the video they keep flashing their logo, kind of fading it in and out over it, so that it covers it. And so, but I think also commentary is like a legal use thing where if you commentate something, you can use the footage. So I think that's how they get past it, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, because I had that same thought. I'm like, how do they watch like entire movies and shows on YouTube? But yeah, I mean, they probably, I'm guaranteeing they're not letting it get demonetized every time. So they must have their ways of getting around it. But yeah,
cool.
Okay.
Sounds awesome.
All right. Well, I took us on a lengthy squirrel there. I apologize, but it was fun. Let me bring it back to games here. So next up is me talking about what we're playing, and I'm only playing one game, and it is Final Fantasy Weebdom Rebirth. Actually, this game isn't weebery. We've established that this one
It's
is
true.
allowed. It's
It's
allowed.
true.
It's on the approved list of substances. So I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I am enjoying it. I'm 41 hours in. I am 64% of the way through chapter 10. That's what the PlayStation tells me on the little cards. It tells you your percentage. So I'm at 64% of chapter 10 is where I'm at, and I'm really enjoying it. I really love the combat. Yuffie is the best character in the game. I love her. No FBI, nothing like that. But I just love her as a character, and I love her combat. I think she's amazing. Her combat is so fun, dude. Just flipping through the elements and juggling people. And I use this build that I saw on YouTube where you can like use something where like you spark every time you get an ATB gauge, and it like does a big circle explosion. And with her, like she fills up her ATB so fast with her combo that I'm constantly just like boom, 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 like sparks that are like stunning them too. It's just a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, the story, the combat, Yuffie and everything, Aerith is best girl still. It's all great. The only thing that I find to be quite mid is the open world. I think the open world kind of sucks. But overall, I'm really enjoying the game. So that's what I'm playing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm going to pass it to you, Locke, because I know you're also playing Rebirth. So what's up? Tell us about that.
I was playing Rebirth until today, but I'm gonna have to stop. Not because I'm not enjoying it, I'm loving it, but
I know.
I have other obligations. I have to play Fallout because we're doing a video on Fallout 1 over on Retro Rebound. So I have to stop Rebirth now and play Fallout. And this weekend, my game of the year is releasing, Dragon's Dogma 2. So sorry, Weebery, you're gonna have to make place for the true Goaty for a little bit. But once I get done with Dragon's Dogma 2, I'll definitely get back to Rebirth. I'm loving it. Even the open world. I know a lot of people, because you brought it up too, Midnight. Like a lot of people don't really seem to be enjoying the open world as much. But to me, the open world is amazing because I haven't played a Ubisoft game in over a year. So to me, the open world stuff is so much fun because I haven't experienced it in so long. So it brings me back to like all those Ubisoft games, which is fun. But I really like the story. I like the characters. I think I like it better than Remake, but maybe it's a little bit too early to tell because I haven't reached the ending yet. And I already love the Remake. Like I put it in my top 10 list of all time. So if Rebirth keeps it up when I get back to it, I assume in 2 to 3 weeks, it'll probably end up where Remake was at in my top 10. Great game.
Yeah,
Well done, Weeps.
Hodge, you've beaten both games. Which is better in your opinion, Remake or Rebirth?
I'd have to say Rebirth. Remake has I love the whole story of Jesse and the gang. Like I love that in the first one, but the second one expands so much that every character that's in your party gets their own story in this game. Like everyone's life is fleshed out in this game, and it's so cool that every single person's is fun. And yeah, Rebirth is, I actually love the open world stuff. There was a couple missions that I wasn't a fan of, like just of a couple side missions, but I never felt like I was like, oh god, I have to do another one of these. Like I never felt like that with anything in the open world. So I really enjoyed, honestly, the stuff that I felt was a bloat was some of this main story stuff they had to get past to get to certain places, like the ship and the beach. Like those two things were just like, why are these like main story things? Like like it was stuff like that. But yeah, I think I like it better than Remake so far, or like in my initial thoughts on it.
Cool. But you don't agree? You think Remake is still better? But you're not at the end yet, right?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'll have to wait until I beat it to decide. I think the main thing that Rebirth has going for it is that Yuffie's in it the whole time because I just love her combat so much. Like anytime I'm not able to bring Yuffie along with my party, I'm like a little bit upset. Although Cloud's combat is pretty fun too, like because you can air juggle people with the sword and stuff, and that's pretty fun. I like fast-paced, like frenetic combat. I really enjoy that.
Me too.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's really good. I'm enjoying it. And then you mentioned Fallout 1 you're playing. Have you played that at all yet,
Yes.
or you're going to
Yeah,
start it?
yeah, of course. No. Yeah, I played it before, of course. I think like 4 or 5 hours in now on my first replay in like 20 years. No, I played it when it came out. Of course, that was like one of my favorite games when it came out. But we're doing like a big Fallout week over on Retro Rebound soon when the show releases in a couple of weeks. So I think Maddie is playing New Vegas, and then I'm doing Fallout 1, and then we'll see where we'll end up. But no, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a very archaic game. It's doesn't really play well anymore these days, but the story is so good. It's so fun. It's also really fun to see where Bethesda got so many of their ideas. Well, it's the same franchise, of course, but it's really funny because in Fallout 1, you get out of the vault and you get into this cave with a lot of rats and you have to shoot them. But then in Fallout 2, you don't even start out in a vault. So it's very different from the newer games, but also very much the same, which will be fun to compare, I hope.
Hmm. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I never played Fallout 1 at all. So
Cool.
I've seen it, of course. Like, it's a really old isometric style game looking.
Yeah, it's very
But yeah,
old.
I've never played it. Hodge, you probably have not played that, I'm guessing.
No, I've never played 1 or 2.
Hopefully, we'll get a remake at some point. Those games are definitely in need of a remake because, man, even it doesn't have like simple things. Like when you open up your inventory, you have to go through everything because it's horizontally. So you have to go through every item before you drag it to the place where you want to store it, or the other way around. So every interaction takes you like a minute,
Mm,
which
Nice.
is yeah, but it's cool.
interesting.
Sometimes that old jank is just so like nostalgic, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I just got an alert on my computer for some reason that says my my disk drive, disk drive is like full. So I'm
Are,
like, what the hell is going on?
are you recording locally too?
I shouldn't be now. I don't know what's going on. Here, I'm freeing up some space right now. So I apologize.
all that porn.
Man, I don't want to, man. I got to keep that stuff, Stuff is valuable. But all right, so that's what's going on. That's what we've been playing here. Some good games. Are we satisfied with that? Is there anything else we want to talk about before we get into our topics a little bit?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get into the topics here. There's one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about in this episode. We saw recently the PS5 Pro leaked. Pretty reputable leaks. We can say this is probably almost exactly what we're going to get. Like, this is very reputable as far as I can tell. It's going to be 33.5 teraflops of compute power, which is about 3 times as powerful as the existing PS5. So that's a pretty nice upgrade. It also has more improved like AI upscaling, like super sampling. So we should be able to get more ray tracing in games. My ultimate goal would just be to get 4K 60 on everything. If we could get 4K 60 on everything, I'll be happy. Anything else than that is just a bonus. What do you guys think about it? Is this something that you're interested in? Do you think you might pick up, if it does deliver 4K 60 or better on everything, do you think you'll get a PS5 Pro?
Yeah, I'll get one. I'll get one day one. It doesn't even have to be 4K. As long as it's giving me 60 and everything, I'm already happy. I hate that Dragon's Dogma 2 is not 60 on console because that game would be so good on my TV. But I'm gonna have to buy it on PC because it's 30 on console, and I'm not going back to 30. I don't care what games have 30 on console. I'll chuck my PS5 out if I have to, and I'll never turn on my Xbox again. But I'm not going back to 30. No way. So yeah, if the new PS5 Pro, which I think it will, like give games the ability to run in 60, I'll definitely get one day one. But if it doesn't, then there's no use for me to get it. But I think it will, so I'll get one. Yeah.
What about you, Hodge?
Yes, but it's just because I'm the dumb monkey brain consumer who's like, ooh, new shiny thing. That's the only reason I'll get one. I mean, because I bought the PS4 Pro when it came out because I remember when they just showed how like the HDR capabilities on it or whatever when they showed it off, and I was like, oh, that looks awesome. And then I played it and I was like, it probably is not running any better, but I got it anyway. But yeah, I'm just someone I like having speed, because once you have the nicer console out, the other ones are going to start slowing. Like it's the same with phones.
Sure.
Like I don't get a new phone every year, but every couple of years, because you can always feel when it starts chugging. And I heard people talk about like the PS4 base one near the end of the life cycle when it was just sound like a jet engine when it was playing God of War and stuff like that. That I'm like, well, I had the Pro, so mine never did that. So that's probably what I'll have to do with the PS5 is get the Pro for that, just because I just like the speed. But I mean, the normal ones, like I understand the argument against it of like, oh, they haven't really released that many PS5 only games. It's kind of weird to want to
It's true.
put out a new console for something that hasn't released that many games on itself. But I do like that speed and that power. So that is, I want to be able to have the best experience with the game, and so I always get the nicer of the consoles when they come out. Like we'll talk about in the console. I'll save it for when we get to the consoles, but that we're talking about. But yeah, I like getting the iterative upgrades to improve the speed. But unless it's like a $700 console, then I'm not gonna fucking touch it. But I don't think they'll do that. It'll be probably 600 at most if they're smart. So yeah, we'll have to see when it's officially announced and all that. But
yeah. I think I probably will get it as well. 4K 60 is the sweet spot for me. I want every game to be 4K 60. Ray tracing, I don't really care about, but if they can put it in there and still deliver 4K 60, then I'm all for it. If we could get 4K 120 or 1440p 120 that for select games, that might be cool too. So yeah, I'd be down for that. I was gonna ask also, like, how much would you guys be willing to pay? Like, if they tell you like every single game will be 4K 60 and a lot of them will also have ray tracing, how much would you pay for that?
Well, does that include games that are coming? Like,
Yeah, like
is it future
upcoming games, like the rest of the generation. Yeah.
Well, then I would pay $1,000 because that would include GTA 6, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, you don't think so?
No, I think 30 is gonna be the new standard again, which really annoys me. So no, I don't think that's gonna happen. If it really does that, then yeah, then I would give $1,000. But I don't think that's that. At least I hope I would hope that's the case. But I don't think that's all too realistic with GTA 6 coming.
Yeah.
But I would pay if it just runs everything that we got now in 60 and like all the exclusives that are coming on PS5, then I would pay $500. I think, yeah.
500.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I think it's going to be 650 is what I'm thinking. That's
Well,
my midnight guess. 649.99. Mark it down.
That would be ridiculous because the console itself was already 50. I know they're gonna do it, right? They did it. They did the same thing for the PS4 Pro, right? They also made that like $400 back then, which was equally ridiculous. Unless they have like something. I don't know if you guys had this in the US, but over here we could like trade in our base PS4 for a PS4 Pro and then just pay like $100 extra or something.
Yeah, GameStop had some deal where it was probably close to half off, if not a little more. I can't remember what it was exactly.
That would be good. Otherwise, it's a scam. That would be ridiculous if they.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't get it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hodge.
Oh, I was just gonna say because I have the all digital PS5, so if I upgrade, I'm gonna want to just switch to another all digital anyway. So it's not like I want to get like the disc suddenly. So I just want to trade it. So I wouldn't want to keep my PS5. I'd want to be able to trade it in and get a good chunk off of the Pro.
Yeah,
So,
same.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I didn't buy the PS4 Pro, and I didn't buy the Xbox One X either. That whole generation, I just rocked the base models because those came out at a time where I was like really broke. I was like living with my brother. I had been laid off at a previous job, and I moved in with my brother, and it wasn't a priority. But now that I have just more disposable income, and I can't really control myself when I see new tech, gotta grab it. I probably will get the PS5 Pro unless it is like absurdly priced. If it's like 700 plus, I might skip it. Then
Did Xbox say what they're gonna do, or did they have to do it too? I guess because if you have the Series S, then I mean.
They're saying that they're not going to do a mid-gen refresh.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. How strong? How like the teraflops, whatever? How strong is the Series X?
Series X is 12 teraflops, and this new PS5 Pro is rumored to be 33 teraflops. So
okay, because I feel like that's going to force Microsoft's hand then, because
Yeah.
they made that stupid comment of the Series X is the Pro. It's like,
Yeah.
well, now you're going to be a third as powerful as the competition. I mean, obviously we've talked about they don't care about the consoles as much as they used to.
Yeah, they
That's
don't.
obvious, but that's a pretty big difference right there. That
Well,
would be kind of stupid not to try and match it.
what I've heard and I've seen people like insiders and stuff report on is that Microsoft is planning on not doing a Pro, which they said kind of themselves that they're not planning on doing a Pro. But what they're actually planning on doing is releasing the next generation Xbox, like sooner than you might think, like the Xbox Series XX or whatever. I hope they don't call it that. Might launch in 2026 or early 2027, like earlier, to try to beat Sony to the punch. So I think that's really what they're planning, is that they'll have the weaker console in the short term, but then they'll be first out the gate with the true next gen upgrade.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and because they also have PC too. So for people who really care about graphics a lot, like Locke, you can just play it on your PC. You know, you don't have to have an Xbox necessarily.
I don't care about graphics. I care about FPS.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Performance, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned GTA. Yeah, I don't think GTA is going to run at 4K 60 on almost anything other than maybe like the absolute like NASA style computers. That's about it.
They're gonna do the same thing they're always doing. It's not coming to PC until like a year after launch, probably, which sucks.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they do that every time, which is so fucking annoying. Because I remember when GTA 5 release, was it? Yeah, it was 5 on PS3 first, and then it really chucked. I remember I bought a PS3 specifically for GTA 5, and it was one of those that had like 13 gigabytes, I think, or 15 gigabytes, and it just fit GTA 5. Like it fit one game on it, and that was it. But it like chugged, and it didn't really perform well. And then we got it on the PS4, and then we had to wait like more than a year to get it on PC, where it finally ran like it should have ran, so you could actually play the game. So I think we'll see the same thing happen here again.
Yeah, I think GTA 6 will probably be like targeting 4K 30 frames on the Series X and the PS5, but it probably won't really be a 4K. It'll be an upscaled. Maybe on the PS5 Pro, maybe if we're lucky, that could be 1440p 60. We'll see though. That's going to be a beast. That game, it's going to be really hard to run that massive, beautiful world.
Yeah, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with the Series S? Because it has to run on that one too.
The Series S will probably be like 750p upscaled, 30 frames.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they broke the has to be the same or whatever with which game did
Baldur's
they break
Gate?
that? Baldur's Gate, yeah.
So
They broke it. They broke that rule. So I mean, GTA 5 sells generations, let alone consoles. So they're gonna have to bend the knee to Rockstar and be like, all right, fine, do whatever you got to do, get it on our console.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure. The Series S isn't as weak as people say. I'm sure it will be able to run it, but it'll probably be, like I said, like it'll be a 700 to 900p real image that's upscaled to 1080p or 1440p, and it'll run at 30 frames. And it'll probably mostly hit the 30 with the occasional small dips, but it won't look nearly as good as the Series X or the PS5, obviously. It'll run. I think. Yeah. All right. So that's that. Let's go ahead and jump into our main topic of discussion here, shall we? So we're going to talk about our console owning history, just a little fun, little nostalgia, a blast from the past. Let's go ahead. And who wants to start here? Let's start with Hodge. Why don't you tell us a bit about your history with gaming and consoles?
All right. So when I was a kid, I don't know which one we had first because I was so young when we got them. My first two consoles was the NES, the OG, and the Sega Genesis. I think the Genesis was first because I do actually have a memory of my mom coming home from a garage sale with an NES and like 30 games in it. Like she got it for like $20 or something at a garage sale that someone was just like, because the SNES was out at the time, so they probably just got it and like, all right, get rid of these ones. And so we were on cloud 9 because we had all the original Marios, Zelda, Kirby, like just the OG like greats on NES, and so that's really what got me into gaming. Because Sega Genesis, we had Sonic, and we didn't even have that many games for the Genesis, honestly. Because I mean, we didn't grow up like super well off, so we just we were lucky to have games in general when we were kids. But the NES, that one was huge when we were kids. Yeah, I never had an NES or a SNES. I never had a 64. I actually didn't get another, other than the Game Boys, I didn't get another Nintendo console until the Switch, actually, was the next Nintendo I owned. But I also, as a kid, I had a Game Boy, I had a Game Boy Color, a Game Boy Advanced eventually. I've had all 5 PS5s in my life. PS1 was obviously the huge one as a kid. That's, like I said, Spyro was on my top list. I loved the PS1. PS2 is obviously, and it's the highest selling console of all time. I think still. I don't think PS4 passed it, did it? I don't think
the PS2 is number one.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I never had an Xbox, the original. Yeah, I never had the original Xbox. I would play Halo at my cousin's house, but I had 360, the Xbox One, I had the Xbox One S, and the Xbox One X because, as I said earlier, I'm a person who likes getting the better speed. And the One X, that was actually a genuinely impressive jump up in that mid generation. The One S, I only got it because it had a 4K player, and I had just bought a 4K TV, so that's why I got the One S. But the One X, that was actually a huge jump. That beast ran. It's actually, I think, stronger than the One S, other than the SSD, or the Series S. I mean, if I remember right.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah, I think it's just the Series S is quicker, right?
The GPU, the graphics power on the One X is 6 teraflop versus like 4.2 on the S. But the CPU on the Series S is much better than the One X is. So
yeah, and then I have the Series X and S. I got the S as like a travel because I bought that little attachable screen to bring it places, and that thing's awesome. That X screen, I think it's called. Yeah, then I had, like I said, I had the Switch. I had both PSP and PS Vita. I haven't played the Vita as much. I actually bought the Vita. Funny enough, I saw it at GameStop for like $90 or something. They had it there, and it was right when Colin Moriarty, who all of us, if you're listening, you probably know him too. He put out his game Twin Breaker, and I bought it just to play that on it to support him. And I ended up loving the Vita. I have the God of War games on it and stuff, but the PSP was always my favorite of those two. I loved the PSP. But and I had the Sega Saturn, which just had Sonic Racing, which is the only game I gave a shit about on that game on that console. But yeah, that's all the consoles I had. We could go into them deeper after you guys after you guys kind of go over your consoles. We can go over kind of I have a lot to say about a lot of the consoles because that's my life, baby.
All right, so yeah, that was very thorough. That's a lot of consoles. So let me walk you through my history here. I'm going to go in order. So you got Young Midnight, very, very little kid. My grandma, rest in peace, love her. She gave me for Christmas one year the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. Super awesome. It was like $100 back then, which is a lot of money back then. I was so happy she gave me that. Played the hell out of it. Played a lot of Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt with the little light gun. Like, pew, pew, pew.
Oh yeah,
good times.
Awesome.
Good times, little Zelda, little action. Played Ultima, old school JRPG down with Weebury. But I think that was a Japanese game.
That wasn't. No. That's a very Western. No, that's a very Western game. The Ultima games.
Yes. Okay, my bad. Good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. Well, I apologize, Ultima, for calling you Weebury. Ultima was great. Ultima, I think it was called Ultima Exodus, was the one that was on the NES, and I played that a lot. It was a lot of fun. There was like a casino in it, if I remember. There was like little secret paths and things. It was good times.
Oh, maybe there are two different versions though, because Ultima is. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. Ultima, if I remember correctly, Ultima was like a CRPG series, a very old one. UK one started by Richard Garriott, I think, which is like a fantasy RPG. But maybe I get my titles mixed up. I could be wrong. Maybe you're absolutely right, and it's a Weebury thing, and it's disgusting.
Let me see. Ultima Exodus here. It was Ultima 3 Exodus, released on NES in 1983. Let's see. Who made this? Let's see. It was published by Origin Systems. Where's the developer? Designer was Richard Garriott. He's
Yeah,
English.
that's the one.
He's
Yeah, yeah,
British. He's British.
that's
All right.
awesome. Yeah.
We're safe. No Weebery here.
Whew,
Good.
thank God. Yeah.
That was close. So the
Origin
NES
is
was
in Austin, Texas.
okay. There you go.
Oh,
Shout out Texas. That's where I'm at.
nice.
So NES was my first, and then after that, my grandma again came through, swinging through. She was awesome. Got me the Sega Genesis, was my next console. Played the hell out of that. Lots of Sonic, lots of everything on that console. It was so great. I even played the Michael Jackson game. They had a Michael Jackson. I forget what it was called. But after that, I got the Nintendo 64. Played a lot of wrestling games on that, like WCW versus NWO World Tour and Revenge. Those games were a lot of fun, GoldenEye and everything. Then I got a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Xbox Original I had as well, Xbox 360, PS3. We're getting to the point now where I have like every console. PS4, Xbox One. As far as Nintendo, I kind of skipped out on a lot of the Nintendos after the 64. I did have the Wii U, which sucked. What a waste of money that was. But yeah, I had the Wii U. I wasted my money. I barely ever even played it. And I had the 3DS. I bought the 3DS purely for one game alone, and it is Weebery. It's not Final Fantasy. It's Fire Emblem Awakening.
Okay,
I absolutely love that game.
That's good Weebery. So
It's
that's okay.
it's Western Weebery.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah.
I have a 3DS also. I forgot about that one. My bad.
3DS is good. And then of course, modern and consoles, and I have a PC as well, which I'm thinking about upgrading soon. But yeah, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X I have. So that's my history with consoles and PC. How about you, Locke?
Well, I grew up very poor. We didn't have any money for games, let alone video games. So I think when I was 5 or 6 years old, my brother got like an IBM computer from his grandma, or our grandma, I guess. And and that really changed my life, because we played like old adventure games on it, or my brother played and I got to watch, I guess. But then a couple of years later, like all my friends in high school, geez, I'm having a bad day here. All my friends in school had had the NES or the SNES, or had all these cool consoles that we didn't have. But then I remember very clearly on Christmas, I think '94, my parents got me a Game Boy. Like, they saved up all year and they got me a Game Boy. They got me one game, and I think it was Super Mario Brothers 2. Super Mario World 2, which was one of the first games on the Game Boy you could save in. So I played that all year because we didn't have money for any other games. So I played that all year, and then I went back to PC because I had no other Game Boy games. So I went back to PC, and then when I got into high school and I started working at a bar and I started earning my own money. Really, been working since I was 13 or 14, I think. So I went to work after school, and then I finally got enough money to buy my first console. So I bought a PlayStation 1 for Final Fantasy 9, I think, and then I went back to the other ones.
What?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
that's Weebery.
Well, that's part of the lore, man. I started out with Weebery. I started out with Final Fantasy 9, and then I went back to 8, and then I tried 7, but I wasn't really a fan of 7. But then I bought a PlayStation 2 just so I could play Final Fantasy 10, and I hated that game. I hated it. Sorry, Hodge. I know you
I never played 10.
So.
I'm actually not big on 10 either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hated 10, and that's when I figured, oh, this is bad. These are bad games, so I'm not gonna buy these anymore. Down with Japan. So after that, but after that, because that really changed my life a little bit. Because after that, I bought an Xbox, the original, the OG Xbox, specifically for KOTOR, and that game was just so amazing. I still can't believe they got it on there. And then after the original Xbox, I went back to PC. Then I got a 360 for Oblivion, because that wasn't out on PS2 back then, or PS3. Then I got a PS3 for Uncharted. I got a PS4. I got a PS5. Yeah, and I don't think I've ever bought an Xbox. Yeah, I have a Series X right now, actually. But
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but
because you don't really need it, because you have a powerful PC, so you don't even necessarily need a series.
Yeah, I bought it. I don't know why I bought it actually. I bought it at some point during COVID because I figured, well, you never know, maybe they'll have exclusives or cool. No, I bought it in anticipation for Starfield and Fable.
Oh, okay.
That was it. And then I think I played like Starfield on it for like 10 minutes, and I was like, 30 FPS, screw you. And then I went back to PC.
So you have not gotten your money's worth there.
No. Well, it's nice to have it next to the PS5, I guess. And I also own a Switch, which same story there. I played I played Breath of the Wild on it, and then I played what's the other one called? Tears of the Kingdom for like 30 hours each, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I get it. And that was it. That was it basically. Those are all my consoles, so not a lot really compared
That's
to you
good.
two.
You were like an old school PC master race. I like it.
Yeah,
I was too. I played quite a bit of PC gaming in the past. I played way back in like the late 90s and early 2000s. I played a lot of Age of Empires, The Rise of Rome expansion on the Microsoft Gaming Zone. That was like the website. You would go to the website and it would put you in a lobby and it would launch the game and you'd all be
yeah,
together. That
yeah.
was how matchmaking worked back then. And I used to play a lot of the really old school MMOs. Like I played
Yeah, me too.
Dark Age of Camelot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Um,
that's my favorite one up until
It's
today.
one of
yeah.
my favorites too. I love it.
Yeah.
And I played Asheron's Call
Yeah,
was one of
yeah.
them that I played.
That one too. Yeah.
And Shadowbane was another one. That's one that's kind of like a deep cut that a lot of people aren't that familiar with. It was
Is
kind of
that
more like isometric, click to move. And it was like a really big world where it was player driven, where like you could build cities. Players could build cities
Oh,
and
yeah,
form
yeah.
guilds and nations and siege each
Yeah.
other's cities and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there was this deep diplomacy system. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
back when MMOs were still innovative and cool, and you could really do stuff in them instead of just Candy Crush Deluxe edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
yeah.
Warcraft came out and kind of like turned everything into like the same copy and paste BS.
Well, when Warcraft came out, oh man, did you play it when it came out? I assume you did, right?
I did.
It was the best thing ever, right?
It was
like, those
good.
first 2 years, it was like, oh my god, like I'm never going back to any other game ever again. But then they started changing it, and now it's like watching paint dry, but uglier. It's yeah.
Actually, we were the same. I didn't say PC because I always think of consoles as game. Obviously, PC is like where the better place to play most games. But when we grew up, we had just crappy old PC. I mentioned this last week. The Journeyman Project 3 Legacy of Time.
Yeah.
That game was awesome. I loved that game so much. Wolfenstein 3D. I played Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy all the time because there was an online mode called Siege Mode, which is basically like what you do in Battlefield, where you kind of march your way through to try and take over, and that thing was awesome. And what was the other game? Oh, my older brother was really into Warcraft also, so I always watched him playing Warcraft. I never could get into it, but he loved it. My younger brother, he's still mostly PC. He played Guild Wars, RuneScape.
Nice.
Oh, there's one other. He played a lot of WoW also, but yeah, he was the MMO kid where me and my older brother, we kind of went to the consoles. My younger brother stayed PC. He's a sweaty PC nerd. But yeah, so PC was huge as a kid because we just had like those crappy little like. Basically, I always considered them like, I bet what they were was like, it was just the disc you got for free with something like that kind of game. That's kind of what we played. There was another game, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a capture the flag type game. No idea what it's called. Gun to my head, I could not tell you what it was called, but it was another game we were obsessed with as kids. Again, it was probably
it a shooter?
No, it was like you were in like a car or something. I don't even remember. It was, you were basically like a polygon just driving. It was an old game. Could not tell you what it is, but the PC as a kid, that was huge. We had that when we weren't playing NES or Sega Genesis, but it's always crazy thing about that.
You just mentioned the Jedi Academy, right?
Mm-hmm.
When is this going up? Monday, Tuesday, Monday, right?
Monday.
If you go over to Retro Rebound right now, you can see our review of Jedi Academy, which we
filmed
3 days ago. Yeah,
nice. I'll have to watch that.
I'll watch that when we get off here.
Yeah, I love that game so much.
You can't because it's not going up until tomorrow. But
oh, okay. I'll watch it tomorrow. That's cool. I like Retro Rebound. Awesome. It's a good channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Big
shout
fan.
out to Mandy. I love that. Those videos are great.
Did you play Jedi Outcast?
I played all of the Dark Forces up to like the Jedi Knight games, and I played all of them. I loved everything. It was just Jedi Academy was the one I was obsessed with because of that siege mode. I loved that mode so much. That's pretty much what introduced me to online gaming was that siege mode because it was so much fun. You were just competing to either hold people back or make your way through it, and it was so I played that obsessively. I remember a couple years ago, it's like one of the 2 games I own on Steam because I don't really use Steam that much. Obviously, because I have like 2 games on it, but one of them is Jedi Academy because it came in a Humble Bundle, and I bought it just to buy the game again because it wasn't available on console, I don't think yet. And I went on it, and I was so sad that there were no servers because I wanted to play Siege mode. I was like, "Damn it, I can only play the campaign because of can't play online." So I was really sad about that. I was like, I would kill for them to re-release that game online and not in the Battlefront way that they just released.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, how did they fuck that one up? That is impossible.
I don't
Impossible
know.
to do, and they still managed to do it. Yeah,
I'm so happy I didn't pre-order it because I was so excited for that game, and when I heard that, I'm like, oh, "You're kidding me."
I did. That reminds me, I have to refund it still on Steam. I did buy it. I have to get my money.
You got to
back.
hurry up. You got 14 days, right? I
Yeah.
think Aspire just sucks because they also fucked up the KOTOR 2 Switch port. That was them, right?
Yep.
They were supposed to do the cut content mod or whatever, and then they just never did.
Yeah, I forgot about that because I never played KOTOR 2, so I didn't really think about that much. But I do remember seeing that where it's like, yeah, by the way, we're just not doing anything we promised.
Yeah,
it's
like we promised this, and we changed our mind. We're not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm like, what the?
But here's $10 or whatever they did.
Yeah, that was crazy.
On Jedi Outcast 2, I think it was on PC. I used to play that back in the day. There used to be these online lobbies, which it was just like you were just on a map and there'd be like 12 people and most people would be just Jedis. And it was just a big chat room and you could walk around and talk to people. And you could duel people and like sword fight, like lightsaber duel on the maps. And I used to go in there on one server. I was an admin. So I could give myself superpowers. Like I could have like the double bladed lightsaber and be able to one shot everybody. And what I used to do, this was young midnight, what's the word I'm looking for?
Dumb.
It was small dick energy, basically, is what it was. Because I used to power trip, basically. I used to power trip with this. I would go in there and I would be like incognito. I'd be like in a different name and not an admin. And I would go in there and just try to start shit with people and try to get them to kill me. I wanted them to kill me. And as soon as they would kill me, I would turn into an admin and then like just wreck them and then time them out and stuff. Like this was, like I said, this was the ultimate small dick energy. Man. Like I just got such a power trip. Like I'm an admin on Star Wars Outcast. Like such a
you were basically a Reddit mod before Reddit.
Yeah, I was. It's not something I'm proud of, but yeah, young midnight, man. It was getting power trips on Star Wars Outcast, man.
That's so funny.
All right, so let's dial this conversation down a little bit here, try to keep it organized. So the NES, we all had the NES. There's not really much to compare there. I want to compare the next generation. There was some competition. So there was the Super NES and there was the Genesis. Now I had both, but I was mainly a Genesis kid. Where do you guys fall on which team were you guys rocking with mainly?
I owned the Genesis, but I always loved I think it was maybe even just like the mystery behind it. I loved the SNES because my cousin had it, and we'd always play this one Mickey Mouse game where you had like a vacuum. I can't remember what it was called. It was like Mickey Circus or something, and it was so fun. But he also had Donkey Kong Country, which those games were fun as shit. Like he was the guy who could hit every fucking banana and everything. Like he was so good at it, but I just loved playing it because it was fun. But like as a kid, when you start over a game, you had to start from the beginning every time. So I was so used to hearing the Green Hill Zone like song and Sonic, and I loved it at the time. But I went back to it. I'm like, yeah, you just got like Colin makes fun of it all the time. Like you literally just hit forward and you fly forward and you hope you don't die. I'm like, what is this game? It's really not that good. I don't understand the obsession with it anymore. But as a kid, it was what I had, so I loved it. I made the most out of those games. But really, the SNES is the better console. And I don't think there's really much of an argument there.
It had the better games for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. So the Genesis I thought looked cooler, like it had that cool black angular aesthetic, and it
Mhm.
had like the cool. They had these cool, innovative like attachments, like the 32X that you could pop in, and then like they literally had 32-bit games that you could play in. It was cool, and they had the Sega CD too. So they were pretty innovative, and they also had like the really cool commercials where they were like camping out. No, that was PlayStation, right? That was
I
camping
was gonna
outside
say
of the
that. I was gonna say we'll get to that when we get
headquarters.
to that gen. I love those ones. Yeah.
We'll get to that. But yeah,
Yeah.
the better games I think for sure was Super Nintendo. But I was a Genesis kid for the most part. Although I did play a lot of Super Nintendo too, like Mario. Was it Mario Land? Super Mario Land? Or is it? I think that's the one, the classic,
I think.
right?
I think so.
Like the super famous Super Nintendo one where you could ride on Yoshi and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Super
What
Mario Land or
like
whatever.
you didn't have either, you said, because you were
No. I Nintendo wise, I've only ever had a Game Boy and then a Switch. That's all the Nintendo
okay.
consoles I've ever had. And Sega, I didn't even know existed until I was fresh into college. I think. And then, what? There's another one. So no.
Well, all Sega's doing now is bringing Weebury to infect the West. So,
Oh,
you know,
that's why I didn't know about them. Sure.
that's why you probably want to see them fail. You know, they're doing. They're bringing Persona games, and they're bringing
Yakuza.
Yakuza games. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I
Before we
love
get
both.
first someone says I think it's Super Mario World. Land was the Game Boy game.
Oh, it was World. Okay.
Yeah, World.
Okay. All right. So that was the 16-bit era. The 32-bit era, of course, you had the PlayStation 1 versus the Nintendo 64, which I guess is not a 32-bit, but that was the race though. And I was a big Nintendo 64 fan. That's where I was. I was playing Zelda Ocarina of Time is one of the best games ever. As I said, the WCW versus NWO games, those were so fun. GoldenEye, one of the best games ever made. That was the old school. Invite your friends over and have the split screen, and you guys were going at it.
Yeah.
And
That
then
was
you
a
got the
sleepover
golden
game.
gun, and it was on.
Yeah. Yeah. But no one can play his Odd Job.
Yeah.
No, I had the PS1, which I think I'd have to say, just especially as a kid, I loved, Spyro. I even had like a Frogger game, just Gex, like all just these awesome games back. I love it. I understand why a lot of people say N64, because even just I don't play, other than Spyro, I don't play really any of those games anymore, but you can always whip out Kart. Playing Mario Kart with your friends, that game never gets old. That game is still perfect. Like Mario Kart 8 is fun, but Mario Kart 64 is the best Mario Kart game, and it is so much fun. Like hopping the wall in Wario's world and all that, like just knowing all the little cheats, and that was the game. Like I went over to my friend's house and we played N64 games all the time, but I never owned it myself. The only time that I've owned any N64 games is through the Switch back catalog thing. But yeah, the 64 was awesome, but the PS1 was always my favorite. I loved that console.
Yeah. So like you sat out that console generation. You were just PC?
No, I got a PS1.
Oh, you did have PS1.
Yeah, I bought a PS1. That was my first ever thing I ever bought with my own money, I think, was a PS1. I love that console. It was my first ever console too, so maybe that's why I loved it so much. But no, that was like revolutionary to me, that I didn't have to program my little computer on a keyboard to make my games work. Like I could just put the disc in and hook it up to my TV and it would work. That was like amazing to me. No, I love the PS1. Yeah,
it was cool. They had really cool marketing too. I don't know if you guys remember when they first came out. They had this really cool commercial where it was really, it was like, what is this? Like you didn't know what it was. It came out. It was like the tagline was "You are not ready," and it was actually a red letter E, and it was like "You are not ready," and it had these cool little graphics, and then it just said PlayStation, and you were like, "What the fuck is that?" That's so cool.
They have a lot of those. They're all on YouTube. We use them regularly for Retro Rebound for the intro, but they're all on YouTube. They're so cool, man. Even you can watch them from all over the world. Like every country had their own weird little PlayStation commercials, and they're so weird. They're so cool. Some of them can't even air today anymore, I think, because they're like half racist or like misogynistic. But they're
different times back then.
Yeah.
I always just remember the one of the Spyro ones where they'd be just things on fire because Spyro was there burning shit, and then the one with Crash Bandicoot just yelling at people. Like those were the ones I always remembered from the PS1 era.
Did any of you guys have any experience with the Virtual Boy? You remember that? Nintendo, way back in the day, the Virtual Boy.
No.
Dude, they had a virtual reality console in like the
True.
90s or something. It was forever ago. And it was just this piece of crap you would put your face down into, and it was just red only. Red was the only color. And it was
Oh,
like
I
kind
have
of
seen that.
a 3D effect. It was pretty shitty. They had almost no games. I didn't own it, but I played it. Like I tried it out like in like a Funko Land type store or something
So
like
it was
that.
a PSVR 2 before it was a PSVR 2 existed.
Yeah, exactly. All
That's
right,
awesome.
and then where do we want to go from here? Locke, talk to us about one of your early nostalgic memories with a console or a PC.
Are we still at the PS1 or are we at the PS2?
We're at the PS1, or if you want to jump to PS2, we could do that too.
Well, on the PS1, I remember I got a PS1 specifically for Final Fantasy VIII. I think that was my first one because somebody told me
I didn't play it.
at school that was like the best game ever. So I figured, well, I have to try this. So I bought it and then I played it for the first time. And I also thought at the time, like, oh my God, what is this? This is amazing. These graphics are so cool because my PC was still very, very mediocre. So I could never get these games to run on my PC. So these JRPGs were amazing. So I played 8 and then I played 9, which was also amazing. Then I played Vagrant Story, which I also thought was amazing, fantastic. And then I went back to 7. And that's where I started thinking like, oh, maybe these games aren't as good as I think they are, which is kind of stupid of me because I think if I started with 7 and worked my way up, I would have loved 7. But because I took it to from 8 to 9 to Vagrant Story, which are graphically much better, that I just wasn't in the right mindset to give 7 another chance after that. So maybe that was dumb of me. But then also was GTA 1 and 2 were also on PS1, I think.
I
I
think
remember,
so.
yeah, I remember playing those.
Those were
on
top
there
down
as well.
ones.
Yeah, true. So I remember playing those two also on that one. What other games? It's a good question, really. What other games were on
On the
PS1?
PS1, there was
Yeah.
Parappa the Rapper, I think.
Oh yeah,
Which I didn't really play, but I remember
Crash
seeing
Bandicoots, the Spyro games.
Resident Evil 1.
Oh yeah, of course, Resident
was a
Evil.
great game.
Yeah.
You guys remember the iconic scene where you see the first zombie and he turns
Yeah.
and looks at you in the camera and it's creepy as hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
I was too
and
I was too
XCOM,
chicken shit as a kid for that one.
Young
No,
Hodge
now
wasn't down
now
with
it's
that.
funny. Yeah, now it's funny, but like back then it was like, oh, this is so scary and realistic, and now it's just like it's a polygon with some red on it.
Yeah, I played the hell out of XCOM UFO Defense on the
Oh, yeah.
PlayStation 1. That was in my
Yeah,
top
that was on
10
your top
list. I
10,
love
yeah.
that game. So
Played that on
good.
PC, yeah. It's funny because I think today or yesterday, Alone in the Dark released, like the reimagining or
Mhm.
whatever it is, and it's apparently very bad, which is
Yeah,
a
which
shame.
sucks. I was looking forward to it.
Well, Alone in the Dark used to be Resident Evil on PC. Like consoles had Resident Evil, and then PC had Alone in the Dark. They were basically the same thing. So you'd also shoot zombies, and it was tank controls and set cameras, and you played in like an old mansion. And then, yeah, I guess Resident Evil 1 big time because that's still ongoing. And Alone in the Dark came back a couple of times. I think you have Alone in the Dark 2, but then it went away. Then it came back as something else, and then it went away again, and now it's back again as again something else. But yeah, they never got it right again. But it's funny.
Wasn't there like a weird reboot of it in for like 360 or something?
Yeah,
Or
there
something,
was.
wasn't it?
There was.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I never actually played Alone in the Dark, so I can't speak to that one.
It's Resident Evil, but bad.
Just put that as a poll quote on the box.
Resident Evil, but bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the 32-bit / 64-bit generation, if you will. You guys want to jump up, or is there anything else you wanted to mention about those consoles?
Not that console, but back in that day, that was also the Game Boy Color era for me, and that was. I mean, we talked about it last week, playing Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Silver. I had a bunch more games like Game Boy Advance. I had the Dragon Ball Z games, and those ones were always fun. But I always think of that. I know people have made like comics about it and stuff, but that was back when you didn't have a light built into the screen, so if you're in your car you'd have to wait for the street light to hit every time so you could see like kind of angling out the window so you could see what's on the screen. And I just always remember that with the Game Boy because that was also like the kind of a all right, sit down and shut up. Mom and dad are trying to do something kind of console where it's like, here, hand that to them, go sit down and play your Game Boy kind of thing.
Yeah, they sold attachments for the Game Boy where it was like a magnifying lens and a light in one that would like you just put in front of the screen.
The one we'd always get, it was like a little gummy, like a little jelly kind of like curly thing. It had a little light on it, and that's what you'd use to shine down on the screen. But yeah, I always loved the Game Boy Color for that. I actually still have mine. But
that has some great games on it, right? Like what's that? There's like this big RPG on it. Maddie's nuts about it. What's it called again? Not Golden Compass, but it sounds like it.
Oh my gosh, I can't think of it.
I can't remember. I think it just got re-released again or something, or they just did something with it again. God damn it! Well, I don't remember. But I noticed like on the Game Boy Color, it's like a really
RPGs.
Big JRPG or normal RPG, I think.
I can't think of it. But mine was
there's the Pokemon. Yeah.
No, not Pokemon.
There's Pokemon, Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, Crystallis.
I'll find it because it was one of the first videos we did on Retro Rebound. Hang on.
Sword of Hope.
Wasn't Chrono Trigger, was it?
No,
Super Nintendo, I think.
I would know Chrono Trigger.
Great Greed.
Golden Sun. That was it.
Golden Sun. Okay. Never played that. I never owned any of the Game Boys at all. The 3DS was my first Nintendo handheld.
I bought the 3DS because on Prime Day one year, it was years ago, they had like a Pokemon. It was like one that had a Pikachu on, a Pokemon 3DS one. It was like half off, and I bought it because I was like, because I wanted to play Ocarina of Time actually, because as somebody who didn't have not 360 and then 64, I never played Ocarina of Time growing up, but they had the 3D version of it on 3DS, so I bought it purely for that. And because I remember playing that game, and I was like, is this game really that good, or is it nostalgia? And I played, I'm like, no, this game is really that good. It is truly one of the best games ever made. It was so much fun. I loved it. But yeah.
Dude, Nintendo is good at that, coming out with those special editions and getting you to buy it. Because I told you guys I got the 3DS back in the day because I wanted to play Fire Emblem Awakening. I saw the trailer. It was the first Fire Emblem I've ever played. I had never played a Fire Emblem. But I saw the trailer, and it looked so cool, like the graphics and the turn-based tactical combat. And then when you would attack, it had these cool little cutscenes where you'd see the two units, and they would attack each other, and it would be like 59 damage would pop up. And it just looked so cool. I was like, I have to play it. So I bought the 3DS, and I got just like the basic like blue one or something. And then like 6 months later, they came out with the gold Zelda 3DS that had the Triforce on it. And then the back was black. The front and insides were gold and the back was black, and it had the Triforce on it. And I was like, this is fucking sick. I have to get this. So I bought the gold Zelda 3DS, and I sold on Craigslist or whatever my blue 3DS.
Smart.
They're good at that, man. They get extra sales with those special editions.
Yeah, the one I would have gotten if not for the Pikachu one was they had the NES one that just looked like the NES box on like the controller, and that one was really cool. But yeah, I got the Pikachu one. But yeah, we can move on to PS2 though. That gen.
Let's move on to. So that generation was the PS2 versus the original Xbox, with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson coming out to reveal it. Big Microsoft stepping into the ring and getting stomped the fuck out. The sales, like the PlayStation 2, 155 million units, I think, and the Xbox original was like 30 million or something. It was like it was an annihilation. But the original Xbox was awesome though.
Yeah.
And there wasn't the GameCube was this generation too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So Locke, you talk to us about that generation. What was
I remember I because earlier I said I didn't have any other Nintendo consoles, but that's not true because I bought a Game Boy specifically for RE4 because that was exclusive to it. I remember back then.
GameCube.
Yeah. GameCube. Yeah, that was only on the GameCube. So I bought a GameCube only for that one, and then I sold it again after I got done with it. But I originally. Oh, sorry.
No, go
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I never owned a GameCube. I only played Melee and Sonic Adventure 2 at friends' houses. That's all I ever played on GameCube, really.
Smart.
Yeah.
Well, although no, I don't know. People love that console, I think, right?
I didn't have GameCube either. But
Well, I think
then it's
people liked
better.
it because it had the handle on the back, so you could literally, it's just this little cube you
Oh
could carry it
yeah,
to people's houses and stuff. Like that's why people loved it. And I guess the people love that controller because people still use it on
yeah,
like even the new Smash
yeah.
Brother games.
yeah,
True,
But yeah.
it became like the de
true,
facto Smash Brothers control.
true.
Well, it's because Melee was
But
the best one.
but I started out with the PS2, and I think I bought it. Yeah, I bought it specifically for Final Fantasy X, which was like amazing back then, or the graphics at least were amazing back then. But the story is it was just one of those games that pissed me off because I was stupid. I was like a stupid little boy, and I didn't get the story, and it was like, why are you doing this to me? Like, why I paid so much money for this console and this game. Like, why are you doing this to me? But then I remember not that long after, or maybe it was before, but I got it after, or maybe it was way later. I don't really remember. But GTA 3
Mm,
came out, and that is the one that changed everything
yeah.
for 3D games, at least.
Oh yeah.
So I remember playing GTA 3 on there, Vice City on there, San Andreas on there, which was amazing.
Yep.
But then I figured, well, I'm not really into JRPGs anymore. This KOTOR game looks cool. So I switched over to the Xbox. I sold my PS2 with all the games I had on there. I bought an Xbox for KOTOR, fell in love, and then I played Fable. And then from there on out, I was like, oh, I'm an Xbox guy now. This is my console. This is
Yeah.
where all the good games are. I didn't know how wrong it would go later on, but at that point, that was my console. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we love Xbox. Hodge and I are Xbox fans.
Mm,
But
sorry
yeah,
to hear
it
that.
was funny with that. Yeah. Well, it is what it is. Xbox is still doing its thing. I mean,
Yeah.
they are getting stomped out in hardware. But they own some great studios, and there's some good games coming that I'm hyped for. Personally, I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't
Sure.
wait for Avowed and Fable
Yeah. True. Me
and
too.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I think it's a good time still to be an Xbox gamer, but they
Yeah.
are getting stomped out. There's PlayStation is just killing it on
Yeah.
all
You would.
levels.
Are you guys hoping that that something will happen now? That something like you finally get the game that will convince people that it's worth it?
No, I've given up hope. I
I
don't think that there
honestly
is a
don't
game that
care.
can convince them.
Yeah, I honestly don't care to be completely honest. Like like ever since the PS3 generation, I've owned every console.
Mhm.
So I don't give a shit. Like I mean, my friends play on Xbox. That's why I mostly play on it because that's where all my friends were because we all not grew up, but in high school we were in the 360 generation and that's where everyone went to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
360.
Me
So
too.
Mhm.
when we were, only when we were kids and only able to have the one console, which that's just what we had and that's what we played. So that's where everyone's gamer tag is, and that's how I
Yeah.
play. But PlayStation has like PS2, I love way more than the Xbox. Like Xbox obviously has Halo, KOTOR, all that kind of stuff, and it's what popularized online play. I remember playing
Yeah.
Halo 2 at my cousin's house and just being like, "This is the greatest fucking thing ever." But the
Yeah.
PS2, that's the first console my older brother bought actually, and having that with like Kingdom Hearts, God of War, Time Splitters, just all those games were so much
Oh,
fun.
Yeah. Oh, time splitters.
I
Yeah. Good
forgot
one.
about
Yeah.
Twisted Metal. That was
Oh
on
yeah.
PS1 as
Oh
well.
yeah, Twisted
Yeah.
Metal.
Love
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twisted Metal. Yeah,
Yeah.
played that a lot.
True.
Yeah, I love those. So PS2 I love it way more than Xbox, but I do love Xbox. It's once the
Mhm.
360 came out, that's when I just made the switch, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
then ever since then, Xbox has been my primary because, like I said, that's where my friends are. But if it wasn't for that, I probably would have just jumped back to PS4 or the PlayStation, the PS4 era, because that's when they just took off. And Xbox had great exclusives during the one and now
Yeah.
the series gens, but PlayStation's just 10 times ahead of them in that area. But yeah, 360 was where I just made that jump over there and just stayed there basically.
Yeah.
But for the previous
Understandable.
gen, yeah, PS2 where we're at now, it's the DVD player back when DVDs were new, and the
Mhm.
fact that you could
Right.
play a
Yeah.
DVDs on and as much as console warriors don't like hearing this, the only reason the PS3 was the highest selling one is because it had a Blu-ray player, because that's the cheapest Blu-ray player you could get at the time.
Yeah.
I know multiple
True.
people who have PS3 just because they wanted a Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
But yeah, the PS2 Xbox generation, yeah, the PS2, that console was a monster. so much fun. It had so many games. I remember, like I said, Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite of all times. Time Splitters was such an underrated game. People don't talk about that game enough. It was so much fun. God of War, another one of my favorites of all time. So
Yeah,
that console, I loved it. It's just Xbox had Halo in that game, because that I remember Xbox. That was where the LAN parties were, hanging out with my friends. Just everyone would bring over an Xbox, and I didn't have one, but we had a couple TVs, like little crappy CRTs, and just hook them all together and just do fucking blood gulch fights with each other, just on the same server. It was awesome. That's Xbox is what popularized online play, really. So it had that going for it.
Yeah. With that generation, when it comes to the Xbox original versus the PS2, like the only reason to really own an Xbox for a long time was just for 2 games, and 2 games only. There was KOTOR 1, which was the game of the year when it came out, and it was just fucking amazing. And there was Halo. Like those were the only 2 reasons to really even own for a while the Xbox, because everything else was just on PlayStation, and it was just dominant over there. But yeah, Xbox was a nice little console. KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2, I think, was also on the Xbox original. And Halo, of course. What else? There was another one you mentioned too. Fable. Fable was amazing. So then we jump into the next generation, which I think was one of the best generations ever. Xbox 360 versus PS3. And this is where I really became an Xbox fan. And the Wii, but who cares about that?
Well, I'm just saying that was a huge console also.
It was huge, and
which is why that gen is that crazy.
It was true. I do remember playing the Wii at family gatherings. Like I just saw a video. My aunt just sent me an old video that she shot on like her camcorder or something of us all over for Thanksgiving or something. Family get together, and I got to see my grandma and my uncle, who both are unfortunately no longer with us. They passed away, but they were in this video, and we were all playing Wii bowling and stuff, and just having a great time. And that was a lot of fun to watch.
Well, that's the thing. Like it had a bunch of games people love, but Wii Sports was the best thing on it. That game was so much fun. Playing baseball and bowling and tennis, and that was so much fun. It was so fun.
It was so good. So where did you guys fall on that as far as the not counting? Well, if you want to talk about Wii, that's cool too. I'm not going to say you can't, but that's mainly the hardcore war, 360 versus PS3. Where did you guys fall on that? I was 360 hardcore. It was by far the superior console. And I could back that up with facts, but what do you guys, what did you think, Locke? Where were you?
Well, that's around the time I bought both consoles. So I got both of them. I got the PS3 and I got the 360. And I'm gonna have to disagree with you, because the PS3 had like all the cool, like Xbox had cool exclusives. That's definitely true. Like Fable 2 was exclusive. Oblivion for a while was exclusive too. And I bet it had a bunch more. I can't remember right now.
Morrowind. Was that 360?
Morrowind? Yeah, that was the original. I think that was a OG Xbox. No,
it might have been. Yeah,
but the PS3 had Uncharted, the trilogy. It had The Last of Us, of course, at the end there.
Yeah.
God, I can't remember now, but it had a bunch more exclusives, which were way more groundbreaking than anything on Xbox, I think.
Motorstorm.
Maybe, yeah.
I remember that game just looked super realistic at the time, and everyone was like, "Holy, that's what this does."
Like, what were the best? Let me check it real quick. I want to look at a list of the best PS3 titles.
Yeah, I had both. While you're looking that up, I had both, and they were both great. Especially, I would say, at the very end of the generation, PlayStation really came in strong at the last year or two of that. They came out with a lot of fire exclusives, like The Last of Us and Uncharted. And
Resistance, God of War 3, of course. Yeah. Mass Effect was on both, I guess. Yeah.
Mass Effect was on both. Although Mass Effect 1 was a Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, true. True.
But yeah, the reason why I greatly preferred the 360 is because it had party chat. There was no party chat on PlayStation at all. You just had to use game chat. And it had a much faster network. Like Xbox Live was a lot faster, like download speeds and stuff like that. There was more apps on there, like they had the Netflix streaming first and stuff. It was just a kind of a cooler experience, and I greatly prefer the controller as well. Although the DualSense, was it the DualShock 3? I think is what it was a good controller. I actually did like the DualShock 3 on the PS3. I liked those dome sticks that they had. Those were pretty sweet. But yeah, I just really loved. I was a FPS bro. That was the 360 was the place to be if you were a shooter bro, because you had Halo, you had Gears, and you had Call of Duty. Call of Duty was on PlayStation, but the lead platform back then was on Xbox. Like they got the DLCs first, and the pros were playing on Xbox and stuff.
True.
So all the tryhards were on Xbox, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but I was one of those tryhards. So
isn't it annoying when you look at the generation that we got now that we don't have any new IPs or almost no new IPs? Like during that generation, we got all the IPs that we still have today. But right now there's nothing new. We're just getting sequels, remakes, and
so many remakes and remasters and sequels. There's barely any new IP. Like what new IPs are we getting? Xbox actually has a couple. Avowed is a new IP, I think.
Yeah, true.
And
no, not really, because that's like Pillars of Eternity.
It's in the Pillars universe, but it's like a different take on Pillars, right? Clockwork Revolution. I was just about
South
to say.
of Midnight.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
what about PlayStation?
We have new ones coming, but currently
PlayStation has nothing, no new IPs, right? You got Spider-Man was PS4, God of War was PS4, or
Returnal,
Ghost.
I guess.
Ghost is a sequel. Ghost is coming. I love Ghost. But that's
Returnal.
not new.
That was
Returnal
also
was
PS4.
PS5 exclusive.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Returnal. Yeah. Is that the only one? Wow. That would be ridiculous.
It might be.
True.
Maybe. I can't even think of it.
Yeah,
because a lot of them were PS4 release also.
Yeah, you're right. What a horrible generation.
God of War, wasn't Valhalla on PS4 or Ragnarok? I mean,
yeah. I think it was. Yeah.
I mean, it was a sequel from a PS4 game anyway, or PS2 game technically. But with that generation, that's actually the first time I bought a console was the 360, because I remember in high school they were both out. Obviously, it was 2007. My friends were, I was debating which one, because I loved the PS2, so I was like, I just want to go PS3 because I've already been in that console space. So I was debating it, and I was like, I also want the Blu-ray player. That's so cool. I was working just a crappy part-time job at the time, so I was saving up all my money. It's like, the Blu-ray player. And then of course I always think of this, my older brother's like, get the 360, it has the HD DVD player, it's just as good.
It was an add-on though, it wasn't built in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was an add-on, but just the fact that people be like, no man, HD DVD, that's the future. And that thing died two days later. But so I was so torn between them, and then I had some, like I said, I had friends who were on Xbox already, so I went over to the 360, and that's what I bought. And like I said, I bought Call of Duty 4, Halo 3, and then I played the BioShock demo all in the first week. I owned that thing, and I was like,
wow.
Yeah, and like that's a way to enter a fucking generation, is those 3 games. And the BioShock one blew me away. Played it, loved it. And then, so I just loved it because I remember just the late nights of, like you said, that's when Party Chat came out. So we'd be playing Call of Duty every weekend, playing World at War. We'd play Rock Band when we got together. Just that generation it was such a fun multiplayer generation, not even in terms of online, just the games you could play together. Rock Band, Guitar Hero, getting together, playing those, just playing Call of Duty online with each other, Halo.
Gears of War.
Yeah, Gears of War.
Yeah, of course.
Just
Gears
all those, that generation was so good. But then the PS3, I bought it in 2009 or 10. I can't remember exactly. I had just dropped out of college, and I was just home and depressed and sad, because I got sick, and so I had to drop out of school because I got mono, and I was bedridden for about 4 weeks from it. It was a really bad case. So I was just sad. So I was like, fuck, I'm going to buy a PS3 because I had some money saved up from working over the summer. And I bought Uncharted right when I bought the console, because I was like, I heard how good this is. And I had just bought also a 32-inch. It was a really good, even for today, it was a 32-inch 1080p 120 hertz TV. Like, it was a really good TV. And playing that, how crystal clear that PS3 was on that TV, because it was also a Sony TV, so it was built for it basically. Playing Uncharted, and I was blown away. Bought the second one like the next week because I was like, I have to. And then the third one came out a year later or something, I think. But I bought that. But the PS3, I really did like it. It had great games, obviously, but it was probably my least favorite console I ever owned, because it was mostly a Blu-ray player with those great exclusives, But outside those exclusives, I didn't really touch it that much because it was mostly just because that 360 was just so fucking good that I played that thing so much with my friends. So the exclusives that came out for the PS3 were awesome, but that console itself, I didn't care about it as much as. So of the 5, like we'll do an episode where we rank the consoles or whatever, but the PS3 was probably my least favorite PlayStation, purely because it was just competing against 360 because I loved that console so much.
Sense.
But so that 360 has always been my favorite. It's probably my favorite console of all time, to be completely honest. But
yeah, probably mine too. I don't know. My favorite console of all time is probably between the Xbox 360 and maybe the PS4. I don't know. The PS4 was a really strong. Why don't we jump? Or did you have something you wanted to say about that generation before we jump, Locke?
No, I think I think you guys brought up some very good points that I'm going to change my stance too. I think the 360 was better than the PS3. Yeah, I completely forgot about Gears of War. I don't know why. To me, that was my favorite generation. I don't think we'll ever see something like that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
it was the only generation where they were really both competitive.
Yeah, it was like a true console war. Now it's just like people are yelling at each other for stupid shit. Like that, like that was actually like a console war because both consoles had great things, and now it's just like PS4 or PS5 is better and Xbox has no games. I'm like, all right, it's not fun. It's not even fun anymore. Now it's just kind of it's just beating a dead horse at this point. But yeah, that generation was it was so.
It was special. It was special. Yeah. So let's jump into the last generation before the one that we're currently in. And that was the PS4 versus the Xbox One versus the
Wii U.
Wii U and Switch. So in this one, I think it's clear that PS4 was probably the better console of that generation. I think I enjoyed it, even though I am an Xbox fan. Like I've said, I'm not a fanboy though. I actually preferred that generation, the PS4. I was on the PS4 a lot more than I was on the Xbox. They had better games, they had better hardware, and at that point, a lot of my friends switched over. I had almost all of my friends were on the 360 like Hodges, but so many of those people, they left. They went over to the PS4. So the vast majority of my friends now are on PlayStation. They're not on Xbox. So that's what it was. The PS4 for me, one of my favorite console generations. They had so many amazing games. They had Ghost of Tsushima, the best game ever made on the PlayStation. They had God of War, the remake came out. They had Horizon, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it is a good game.
Days Gone.
Uncharted 4 came out. Days Gone.
The Last of Us 2.
So many games. And then they had the games that weren't The Last of Us 2. They had games that weren't PlayStation first party, but were still exclusive, like Death Stranding and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Just so many good games. But yeah, Locke, we haven't heard that much from you lately. I think we've been dominating the conversation. What was that generation like for you? What nostalgia do you have for it?
Well, I don't really have nostalgia for it because it seems like it was yesterday. So
that's true. That's true.
And to make matters worse, we're still playing these games, which is what we were talking about before, I guess. So yeah, I agree. I love the PlayStation 4 generation, but it kind of annoys me that we're still in it.
Yeah.
Even though I know we're officially like in the PS5 generation, but it doesn't feel like it, or at least not to me. It feels like we're still in the PS4 generation. I haven't seen that leap that we were promised, especially in AI. Not AI like in a general sense, but AI in games. You know, when the PS5 came around, that's what the developers were telling us. Like, maybe you're not going to see it in the graphics, but you're going to see it in the AI or the enemy movements or whatever, or the amount of players we can put on screen, and none of that turned out to be true. So.
Yeah.
But the PS4 was a really great generation. Like you said, great games. I played all the PS4 games. That was the one generation where I never bought an Xbox. I've never owned an Xbox One. Just because of that one presentation at E3, I think it was, where they they completely missed the ball.
This is how you share your games video.
Yeah.
They just buried Xbox. Xbox really killed themselves. They came out, TV. Here's a $500 console that you have to get the Kinect with, and it looks like a VCR. And then PlayStation came out later that night with the gift of going second. I think they were able to make some edits to their presentation. Yeah, and they were like, "Here's the PS4. It's sleek, it's angular, it's sexy, and it's only $400. And you can share your games just like you always could. And it's more powerful, which you know, every outlet like IGN was constantly doing all their little comparisons too, and they were like, here's Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and it's 1080p on the PS4, and it's 900p on the Xbox One, and it was just body blow after body blow. Xbox was getting bodied, and that's when we really saw the market share. I think PlayStation 4 is like something like 120 plus million units sold, and I think the Xbox One only sold like 58, maybe 60 million. So it was bad. But I did like the Xbox One, don't get me wrong. But I've been talking a lot. Hodge, get in here a little bit, throw some bars about that generation.
I'm going to be the weirdo who's going to defend the Xbox One right now because, all right, so coming off of the 360 generation, obviously, like I said, I was full steam ahead for Xbox at that point because the 360 was so good, and of course I was like, yeah, they can't fuck it up. This next one's gonna be great. But because I remember I was in college at the time and I was delivering pizza, and I just kept saving my tip money, taking a little bit out for booze here and there, but I was just saving my tip money just to save up for the Xbone for when it comes out. And I remember I actually didn't hate the Kinect. I've always been a public staunch defender. It was all right. It was stupid that they packed it in and forced you to have it. That I won't defend because that's a stupid idea. But I loved that thing because I could come home from work and I could just say Xbox on. It would turn on my TV. It would turn on the DVR. It would turn on the Xbox. And then when you sat down, it noticed you knew your face and it signed you in. So you're already at before, just as you're sitting down, it's already ready to go. And then you say, Xbox, go to Titanfall or whatever. And it would just open the game for you. And I loved that. I thought it was so cool. You could tell what channel to switch to on the TV. It was a super cool. I mean, the layout of that system was crap. There's no defending that because that was Windows 8 bullshit or whatever. They're trying to match it all together. But I loved that thing. And I remember it was, again, like you said, your friend switched over to PS4. Mine stayed with the Xbox One because honestly, Titanfall sold them on it because that game. I'm a staunch defender of the first Titanfall game. I put days and days of playtime into that game. I loved it. Titanfall 2 obviously is better, but I loved the first one. People hate it because it didn't have a campaign or whatever, but I loved it. And it came out, that one. Dead Rising 3 was a launch title with it, which was a fun game. Sunset Overdrive came out later, fun game, but I loved the Xbox One. It was obviously weaker. They didn't have as many first party exclusives that they should have. It was pretty weak on that. Quantum Break was another great one. It wasn't first party, obviously, but another great Xbox One game. But I enjoyed the one. But once I went from the 1S to the X, because the S, like I said, I got it because I wanted a 4K player. But once I got to the X, that's when I said, this is actually a great console. Not even like I still like it. It's actually a great console. But the PS4, that thing was a monster. That had some of the best games ever made on it. Death Stranding is one of my favorite games of all time. The God of War 2018. I love the Order 1886. I don't care. I know it's a 5-hour game. It's really not that good of a gameplay, but it's an awesome story. And the graphics are still beautiful. What's up?
Let me get in here. Piggyback on that. You can't talk about the Order without talking about its redheaded twin brother, Rise, Son of Rome, over on Xbox.
Oh my god!
I loved that game too. Those games are always compared because they're similar. Like they're both graphically beautiful.
Rise. It had repetitive gameplay, which wasn't very good, but the story was fucking awesome, and it is still a gorgeous game. It is a gorgeous game. But I do remember playing it, and I thought it was the stupidest thing ever when you're playing it, and you had to yell at the catapult to launch in your Kinect, and I thought that was the stupidest thing ever. I was like, all right, that's dumb. I like the Kinects, but that's dumb. But that Rise was a great. People hate it because it's popular to hate on the Xbox One, but that was actually an awesome game. I really loved that game.
I stand by that. That's a great game. If anyone didn't play Rise, Son of Rome, you should. It does have QuickTime events. It's basically like QuickTime events the game, but it's an awesome story. It's a beautiful game, and it was fun.
I like that one. It's on Steam right now. You can get it there too.
Did you play it, Lock?
Nice.
Yeah, I played it on Steam.
It was good.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. So that was that generation. I enjoyed the Xbox One too. They did have great games. There
Mhm.
was great games. It was just the hardware and the release that really let them down.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and
it's
they
like Phil
never
Spencer
recovered.
said, it was they lost the generation they had to win because that's when most games went
Yeah.
digital and people weren't
Yeah.
buying
Yep.
discs as much. Because I remember I stopped buying discs that generation because I
Me too.
bought
Me too.
Titanfall on disc and I put it in and you had to install the game. I was like, I thought I bought the disc so I didn't have to install the game. Like that's the point of the disc. And so once I learned that a disc was basically just an unlock code, I'm like, I don't want the disc anymore. So I stopped buying
Yeah.
physical. And
Exactly.
so they blew it with that. But yeah, that's the generation they should have won, or not that they
Yeah.
should have won this generation, but they needed to win the generation.
They
So
needed to win,
yeah, and they didn't. So
and now it's over. Now it's
Yeah.
over. But I think Phil. One thing I want to say: a lot of people give Phil a lot of. Phil's very divisive. Phil Spencer. It's like you have the people who worship him and they're like all on his dick and they're like, "Oh my God, Phil, he's my bro. He never does anything wrong." And then you
Yeah.
have these people. You have a lot of people who are just Phil haters and they think that the worship and the praise that Phil gets is just completely unwarranted. And I'm more on the side of liking Phil but not worshiping him because he did a lot. I think people don't understand. A lot of people don't realize how bad Xbox was in shape wise when Phil took over. Phil
Yeah.
took over the Xbox brand in 2014. At the time that he took over, Microsoft had 4 first party studios, and that's it. They had Minecraft Mojang, they had Turn 10 with Forza, they had Rare, and they had 343 with Halo. Or they had the Coalition.
Yeah.
So was it maybe no? It was they didn't have Mojang.
They make that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was
They
gonna say, I
had
thought they
okay.
bought them later.
They bought them with Phil. That was one of Phil's first thing. They purchased Mojang. So they had Turn 10 with Forza. They had Coalition with Gears. They had 343 with Halo, and they had Rare. That was it. That was it. So he inherited a $500 VCR and 4 first-party studios, and they're getting shit on. And what he did was he went out and they bought Mojang, and then they bought in 2018 and 2019, they bought Obsidian, Undead Labs, Ninja Theory, all these great studios. They built like a world-class studios organization.
We haven't seen the result of that yet, so I wouldn't
haven't.
say I so far I'm not very impressed with what he's done, but I will be if all those games pan out to be great.
Right, but he purchased some of these are some of your favorite studios of all time, Lockmort. I know this. You love Obsidian,
Which is why I'm not
you love
impressed
In
with him.
Exile.
Yeah. Which is why I'm not impressed with him, because I would be impressed if those studios would release games and they're awesome, but that's not happening. So
Devil's advocate, though, with that, I agree with you. First off, but Devil's advocate, it's like, so that was 10 years ago that he took over and he bought things in that meantime. But in that same time, Naughty Dog has put out one game and then remastered
Yeah.
it 7 times. Like,
True.
so if Xbox had bought Naughty Dog at that time, people would still be saying, well, they only got Last of Us Part 2 out. And it's just like,
Yeah.
well,
Well,
it's kind of the same thing.
To counter the argument, I think PlayStation is in a worse, to me anyway, is worse than Xbox right now,
Mhm.
because I don't see them doing anything. There's no games that I'm interested. I thought, well, last time people got really mad at me in another podcast, but I thought Spider-Man 2 wasn't good at all. I had
still
fun
haven't played
playing it. I had fun playing it, but that wasn't a great game to me. That was just, it's Spider-Man 1, but a little bit worse. Okay. Same with Ragnarok. It was, it's God of War, but a little bit worse. Okay. And they've done that with every single game. The Last of Us remake. Okay, it's The Last of Us 1. Again, it looks a little bit better. Oh, it's The Last of Us 2. Again, it looks a little bit better. Returnal was awesome, of course. Ghost of Tsushima was awesome.
Awesome.
But that was last gen Ghost of Tsushima. So
Yeah.
this gen it's only been Returnal. So I think PlayStation is in a worse shape than well, they're obviously not in a worse shape. But to me,
Yeah.
they're
From a
not
software
making.
perspective, I agree with you. They are.
Yeah, and I'm very interested in Fable. I'm very interested in what's it called, Clockwork
Revolution from In Exile,
Revolution. Yeah, and Hellblade 2,
and Avowed.
Avowed.
personally.
Those are the games I'm really interested in. And PlayStation has nothing I'm interested in right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. PlayStation, I don't want to use the term creatively bankrupt, but it almost feels
Yeah.
like they have turned
they
into
are.
that because they've just turned into a sequel and a remaster factory.
Yeah.
We don't know what their first party is doing at all, other than a couple live service games and Ghost 2, which I cannot fucking wait for. That's going to be my game of the year, I think, when it comes out. But
Hopefully they announce it soon.
who knows what these
yeah.
other studios are doing? But yeah.
Well, we do know what they do. We know what Insomniac is doing until 2030.
We do.
Which is nothing except Marvel crap.
The Marvel plantation. Yep.
Yeah, we don't. We know what. Well, we kind of know what Naughty Dog is doing. If the new IP is true, which could be cool. But when are we going to see it?
They're supposed to be doing an Uncharted game too. Uncharted sequel.
No, that's another sequel.
It's another sequel. Yep. That's what they're supposed to. Because they teased that themselves. They had Drake's daughter or whatever out there in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at some point, at least I think so. At some point, people are gonna turn against that. I don't know when, but at some point, it will happen.
Yeah. The thing that's saving PlayStation and carrying them to a dominant victory is really second and third party. Has really been carrying them because they have all these exclusives, and a lot of them they don't have to pay for a lot of them. I'm not saying that they're money hatting, but they're just getting them. Like almost all the JRPGs are on PlayStation, and many of them are not on. So if you're a weeb, you're going to have a PlayStation, like just naturally. And there's a lot of weebs out there, unfortunately. It's a shame.
Yeah, or Xbox gets them later, like Persona, right? Like Xbox got those way later, but then everybody's already played them on PlayStation. I remember like people were acting like that was a big deal. Like, oh, they're on Xbox now. Like, nobody cares because the people who like those games already played them.
Yeah,
I don't think they convinced anyone to play them again on Xbox. Like, that wasn't really the victory they were looking for. But hopefully Hellblade 2 and Fable. To me, Fable that would be the big one. I think
Fable's gonna be really good.
It has to be like at some point. Like I get that you like Starfield, like a lot of people like Starfield, but that wasn't the game that it should have been. So they need that game. They really need that game, and they need it now. Yeah.
And I think it's coming. I think Starfield. Sorry, I'll let you go in a second. I don't want to monopolize, but I just wanted to. I think Starfield was kind of a letdown. I agree, because it's not Skyrim. The 100 planets with all the loading screens, which are you have to have loading screens if you have 100 planets. There's no way around it. But it broke up the content a bit too much, and it was a bit of a letdown. I feel that completely. I think Avowed is going to be insanely good. I don't think it's going to be critically. Because Obsidian games never do critically that great. They're usually in the 80s. So I don't think Avowed is going to be a 90 plus, but I think for me as an RPG gamer, that's going to be an amazing game. And I think Clockwork Revolution and Fable are going to be amazing.
That's true, but they need a 10 out of 10. They haven't had one.
Well, they need a 10 out of 10 if they're trying to win the console war, but I don't think that they are anymore. I think they've given up.
They need like I was gonna say the Starfield. It was a console seller, but if it was good, if it was better, it would have been double it because they sold people on the promise of Starfield, but then when people got the reality of Starfield, they're like, why'd I buy this thing? Whereas if it was a great game, they would have sold it for that. And then those people who bought it for it would say, you also need to buy an Xbox for this game. So that's what they need is they need that game that they already have a console seller, but they need one that's going to sell people to sell like more like kind of thing. That's what they need. But I mean, I don't care. Again, like I said, I bought both consoles, so I enjoy my Xbox. But but for in terms of their business, they need because that's the thing is they need a game that's gonna get people to say because that with PlayStation fumbling the ball as much as they are right now, like the PSVR news or all that kind of shit. Like not selling games, they're selling consoles purely on the fact that it's still better than Xbox. But if Xbox wasn't dropping the bag so many times, if they had banger after banger and PS5 was only doing these remasters and sequels, people would be like, well, I'm going to get an Xbox then. But they're not giving people a reason to go away from the PlayStation right now.
It's also partially the fault of Xbox fans, I think, because they treat like every minor victory or every minor decent game they treat like the best game ever. Like the discourse around Starfield on both sides was ridiculous.
So toxic.
PlayStation fans pretended like it was the worst game ever, which it wasn't. But then Xbox people pretended like it was the best game ever, which it also wasn't. So at this point, me as a primarily PC player, I want to see a good game. I just want to see a 9 or a 10 out of 10 from them.
Yeah.
And then
That's
I'm
what they.
happy.
That's what they need. That's what they need. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Starfield unfortunately wasn't that. They I guess they dropped the ball. And it was from a design decision is where they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think it was from execution. It was from
No.
design
That
because
wasn't that wasn't Xbox's fault. That was Todd's
yeah,
fault.
they did too much. Maddie Plays always likes to quote the Todd Howard, "You can do everything, but you can't do everything."
Yeah.
He tried to do everything. He forgot his own quote with that game. But yeah, I don't think I was going to say this last episode. I don't think that BGS has lost a step at all, because the actual created content that they made for Starfield was some of the best work that they've ever done. Like the actual story, the actual handcrafted elements was phenomenal. It was just so bloated with emptiness and loading screens. It was just yeah. So that's why I'm fully confident that when Elder Scrolls 6 finally does come out, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a very good point. I never thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right because they nailed everything else except the exploration. So they didn't
Yeah,
miss
like
there.
the faction quests were amazing.
Yeah.
The story was great. Like the combat was the best it's ever felt in a BGS game. Like the shooting actually felt good. Like it almost felt like a true shooter. So I don't think BGS has lost a step. I just think they lost their way with that game. They went too big. They're like, oh, we can do 1,000 planets. Like, no, you can't. Settle down.
Yeah, well said. That's true. Very well said.
But yeah, I just want to say last thing here, and then I'll let it go. I'll pass it to you guys. I have a lot of faith in Fable. I really think that Playground is going to deliver. Playground is a really good studio. The Forza Horizon games are some of the best games on the Xbox. They're always in the 90s. This is kind of an offshoot studio. It's not the same team, but it is like a lot of the talent went over to work on it, and they're in the same city. So I think they're going to hit it. What do you guys think? Let's bring it home here. Final thoughts on these consoles or games that you want to get to?
Well, with Fable, the reason I have faith in it, actually, I mean, on top of it being Playground, is if people are like, well, they changed genre. Like I always just think of how Guerrilla went from Killzone to Horizon. Like they made a leap from one genre to another, and they knocked it out of the park. I mean, I'm not huge on Forbidden West, but Horizon Zero Dawn was an awesome game. I loved that game, and I was never even really that huge on Killzone, except for the original on PS2. So I think Playground could do it. I think people are panicking every time like a story comes out of like, oh, this went wrong with it. I'm like, who gives a shit? There's always fuck ups in production. But so I really do have faith that Fable is going to be something special.
But it has to be, because if it's not, they're, at least to me, they're dead. I don't care about anything they ever do again. Unless it's like unless I accidentally see somewhere that it's a great game, but I'm not gonna pay any more attention to what they're doing. So to people like me, they have to nail it. This has to be their Starfield. Because remember, in the weeks before Starfield or in the months before Starfield leading up, everyone, including people at LSM, I think every pundit or internet person was saying, this is it. This has to be. This can't be bad, right? This is gonna be the 10 out of 10. Otherwise, they would never release it, and then they did it anyway.
Yep.
So I think Fable has to be good. I hope it's good because Fable 2 is one of my favorite games ever.
I love Fable 2. So good. So good.
So please.
You and I, we had a lot of fun in Discord with the lead up to Starfield. You and I were constantly dropping in Discord like, Todd's about to save gaming. Starfield's about to be the game of the generation. And
I made the God Howard emote for you because of it.
Yeah, the God Howard emote in Discord. We got that with Halo.
Yeah.
It was unreal. And unfortunately, it's sitting at, I think, an 83, 84 Metacritic. And even though I am a massive BGS fan, I got to be real. I think that's fair. I think it is an 83 or an 84. I think that's dead on because the exploration is shit and the loading screens kind of break it up too much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So come on, Xbox. Make it.
I think Xbox
make Xbox great again. Yeah.
This is going to be a good year for Xbox because Avowed and Hellblade 2 are both going to be really good, I think.
See, but that's the thing that worries me because every year since 2020 was going to be the year that Xbox is going to be.
It's true.
It's going to be great again, and so I hope this time it's really true. Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
but
been hearing
this
that
is
every
the
year.
year for real. This is the year for real. BlackRock, Obsidian, they never miss. Avowed's going to be incredible. And I got faith in Ninja Theory, even though it might be kind of a walking simulator. I think Hellblade 2 is probably going to be really good.
Oh,
I
and
don't care. I loved Hellblade 1.
Indiana Jones. We forgot about that.
Indiana
That
Jones is
yeah.
coming too.
Cool. Yeah.
What else is coming out this year? They have like 5 games coming this year, I think. I can't remember them.
Indie, Hellblade 2, Avowed.
What was that? The developer direct?
Well, they also had the Squeenix game, but that's
yeah.
that's not even on Game Pass. That's just coming to Xbox in general.
Oh, Flight Sim 24 is coming out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which I actually am kind of interested in that too, because they finally added jobs. So like there's actually something for you to do in that game. It's not just a sandbox. Like now you can do like missions like mountain rescue and air ambulance and like freight and stuff. So that's kind of that might be fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Might be fun to go rescue some people on a mountain, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's funny.
all right. Should we bring it home, guys? Are we satisfied? What do you think?
Yeah, we kind of mixed the last 2 gens together, but yeah, that's good. We talked about
Yeah,
it.
well, like Locke said, I mean, this current generation just feels like barely an extension of the last.
Pretty much,
Like,
yeah.
we haven't really got a true next gen experience, I don't think yet. We still haven't,
No.
Returnal.
Yeah.
I think Returnal was the only one so far for me, anyway.
and I didn't play it. So.
And the only 2 games I played on PS5 that felt truly next gen was the Astro's Playroom game that came with the console, just because that really showed off the DualSense, and that was and like it was one of those things you had to hold the controller to actually understand how cool it was. And then Kenna Bridge of Spirits, because that game was beautiful. That was a beautiful game. It looked like you were playing a movie, like truly. It was I loved that game, but
OLED gang.
Oh yeah, dude, that thing on the OLED, it was like straight up the cutscenes looked like, I mean, they were made by an animation studio, so it looked like a movie.
Really?
It was beautiful.
I have to play that one.
Let me say this. I think
nice.
the very first next gen experience is coming in a few days, I think. Dragon's Dogma 2. That game looks and feels next gen to me.
If it was 60 on console, yeah.
It's not, yeah. But is it going to be 4K 30 on console? Is that what they're shooting for?
Probably.
I think so, yeah.
I'm okay with that personally. I'm not a frame rate whore. Like I don't have frame rate brain rot like some people do. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I like a higher frame rate, but if it's a locked solid 30, to me it looks fine. Like I'm playing Rebirth on 30 and I think it feels fast and smooth. It looks fine to me. And I played Starfield was at 30 and I thought it was fast and smooth. I didn't have any issues with it personally.
Starfield did look good at 30 actually. I was surprised. It did not feel choppy at 30. But Final Fantasy is actually the game that broke my brain where I couldn't play 30 anymore because I was so scared.
Rebirth is smooth.
No, Remake actually. It's been years since I've been obsessed with it because I tried playing Remake and the 30 was so choppy that I'm like, oh my god. So I went to 60 and I've never been able to see 30 the same ever since.
Are you playing Rebirth or you beat it already? But you played that in performance then?
I played it in performance, yeah.
Okay, because I'm playing on graphics and it's actually really smooth. Now it wasn't at the start. I don't know. It was like unoptimized at the beginning. At the very beginning of the game, you're playing as minor spoilers. You play as Zach at the very first mission, and there was something fucked up. Like it was really choppy.
That's why I
was like, what? I was like, what is going on here? But like right after that, the next fight and the next fight, it fixed itself and it was really fast and smooth. So I don't know. But anyway, all right. So I think we're all satisfied. That was our console history, our nostalgic look back. That was a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and get to our final thoughts here for this episode. We've been going for 2 hours and 6 minutes, and it's been a fun one, I think. Anything else that you guys want to get to here at the end?
No, just thank you for coming on at last second, Locke.
No, thank you for having me. You guys, like I said last time, you guys are doing an amazing job. Keep doing it. Don't stop. Keep going. Make it weekly if you can. You're doing great.
We're hoping to get there eventually, but for now, just testing the waters at every 2 weeks. But
yeah, of course. But no, you're both doing awesome. Sean too. You're amazing people. So keep going.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us then. This has been episode number 4 of Games Over Plastic. If you're still listening, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Please leave a like on the video, leave a comment. It really helps us out. Like the comments really help the algorithm so other people can find us, and leave us 5-star nice ratings on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We appreciate you. Locke, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor here as our special guest. Once again, thank you so much, like Hodge said, for stepping in. We really appreciate it. We were ready to do a 2-man episode, and I think it would have been good, but having you definitely made it all the more better. So tell us, where can the people find you? Is there anything that you want to give a shout out that you got coming up or anything like that?
Well, people can find me over on Retro Rebound, where I do the edits. People can find me on Twitter on Lockmort, and I think that's about where people can find me. I don't know where else you can find me. They don't know where I live, so.
And we can both, you and I can both be found in the background of LSM stuff. Well, you're on the show.
Oh yeah,
so I just do design for them, but.
Great design. Oh yeah, well, Hodge is you're going to New York, right? Like all the signage is yours, right? Like the cool.
Yeah, we did I was originally doing like I had a couple ideas for him, and then I was just like, I remembered the Mega Man 2, like that iconic screen, that opening screen where you stand in the building, and I was like, oh, they're going to be in a city. I'll just do that. So I just made a little pixelated version of the everything for him. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do.
So cool. Yeah,
the Houston design is still my favorite one, though. Doing the Red Dead Redemption drawings.
That was really well done.
That one was that was a lot of fun. But yeah, it's fun doing work for them. So yeah, so you're going to see a lot of LSM guys on this show because that's just who we know.
This right here,
but
this here was designed by Hodge. If you're watching the video version,
our logo.
I mean, I made this shirt, but it's his graphic. He did the graphics.
Yeah, so I love doing designing stuff, but yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a great episode. Thank you. Like I said, everybody, please clap. Episode number 4 is done with special guest Lockmort, the general of the Anti-Weeb Alliance. Weebs, your time is up. You repent because we're coming for you soon. It's a wrap soon. Dragon's Dogma is Western. I don't care. We don't care that it's made in Japan. It's a Western themed game, and we are claiming it. Western greatness is here. Dragon's Dogma, game of the year. Stand down, Weebs. All right. Have a great one, guys. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah.